Hello everyone, a huge good afternoon and welcome to Ferrari Challenge Round 6 of our 2025 season. What a season it has been and continues to be. And we're about to get the two races of Round 6 underway here at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. It's our second visit to Spain this year. Of course, we went to Valencia first of all, but here comes our real welcome to Barcelona. This extraordinary circuit, which was actually built in 1991, completes, if you like, the second of the thirds of our calendar for 2025. From here, we head off to the Ardennes region of Belgium and Spa-Francorchamps. That's after our summer break, and then it is Mugello for round 8 and the World Finals, the Finale Mondiale event at the end of October in Mugello, which will be phenomenal this year. Weather conditions have been phenomenal here in Barcelona. Current track temperature is 43 degrees, air temperature 31 degrees. Excuse me, there was a bit of cloud around this morning, but that cloud is dissipating a little now and the sun is really beginning to beat down on the tarmac here, which will have an effect on the Pirellis and their performance during the course of the race. Obviously, there'll be a grippier at the start of the race than they will be at the end of the race as we look at the Fawad Al-Ghanim car. Fawad driving for Rosso Corsa and Kuwaiti Automobile, who has arrived here as a debutant in the Ferrari Challenge Europe, having raced in the Club Challenge in the Middle East. He did a brilliant job in qualifying, having put the car on P4. Great job done by Fawad. Oh, if you think we're hot, think of these fantastic people that support our racing, all dolled up in their appropriate gear, as it were. Cristiano Marchel, and he is coached by Rui Aguas, who you can see there with the headphones on, giving him his final instructions. It was a very creditable P6 for Cristiano Marchel in qualifying. We'll see what he can do from there for FBO Motorsports. Manuela Gosner was hoping to bank another pole position, a P1 start here in Barcelona, but she was just bested by Oscar Rinčević from Kessel Racing, who we will see in a moment in the all-black car. But Manuela Gosner did succeed in getting a row 1 start because she qualified in P2. So it will be a drag race into turn 1 between those two drivers. As we look at that picture now with the Richard Mills safety car there, the left-hand car is that of our pole sitter that we're on board with now, Oscar Rinčević for Kessel Racing. And as you can see, he's taking plenty of cooling protection before the start of the race. He's a great character, as indeed is Ray Acosta, who races not only here in Europe, but also in the Ferrari Challenge in North America as well. Coached by Marco Bononomi, who you can see there talking to him just ahead of the start of this race. And he wasn't doing a dance, he was just explaining how the back end of the car can sometimes let go. It was Valencia, our first visit to Spain of 2. And as the cars were released, going to be a drag race into turn number 1 between Willem van der Vorm and Manuela Gosner. A lot of people run wide at turn 1. We ride on board to see exactly what it's like. Fabrizio Fontana and Thibaut Valint having something of a ding-dong battle. And it went the way of Fabrizio Fontana going around the wrong way. Plenty of action going on. Oscar Rinčević would also find the gravel trap. Manuela Gosner would find a brilliant victory. To race 2 then in the sunshine in Valencia. And as they headed towards the line, you could see that Thibaut Valint was very lively to get going. So too was NM in the all-gold 296 challenge car as they went into turn number 1. Manuela Gosner, well, she had absolutely found her rhythm early on, and 1 or 2 drivers having to take avoiding action from some that were a little bit sideways. NM and Oscar Rinčević were having a good battle. John Dillon just waiting to pick up the pieces right behind. For Manuela Gosner, though, she was able just to escape up the road and convert another brilliant victory. 2 out of 2 in Valencia for Manu Gosner. Manu Gosner going from P2 on the grid here with Oscar Rinčević for company and NM and Fouad Alghanim. Lilou Vadou, the Ferrari factory driver, is here this weekend and very much hoping that she'll be joining me on air during the course of our broadcasts over this weekend. A very, very talented young driver as Ray Acosta taking on some air there, as you can see, with the portable fan device for the Ferrari of Miami driver. So our lineup of some 11 Copa Shell cars then, and the Richard Mille safety car being driven this afternoon by Antonio Tamburini, who's had a bit of success as a racing driver in his own career, I can tell you, and now has the honor of driving this fantastic safety car that graces every round of the Ferrari Challenge. So Oscar Rinčević from Manu Gosner, from NM, from Fouad Alghanim, ahead of Ray Acosta, Cristiano Marchel. We'll bring you the grid in full as the cars are released on their formation lap, and I remind you that it's always a rolling start in the Ferrari Challenge, and the race duration is 30 minutes plus 1 lap. 30 minutes plus 1 lap. It's going to be hot in those cars, I can assure you. What does it take to win in Barcelona? It's a particularly difficult technical track. Let's find out what makes it work.
I'm Von Scheltema from the Netherlands, of course, and driving the 177 car, the Shark.
I'm Oscar Rinčević from Scotland with Kessel Racing, and I drive the matte black car.
Number?
121.
All right. So, Oscar, tell me, how do you take this corner?
Usually start braking about 150, third, sometimes fourth. It depends how I'm feeling. Take the speed through, shift up as you come through, try not to cut it too much.
You go in the fourth?
Depends. If I feel like the car is settled, then I'll stay in third a little bit further up, and then just before that corner, just have it settled before. Okay. Otherwise, I'll be coming straight through here. As soon as I've got over the corb, shift up into fourth, and then take it round.
And do you take a lot of curb? That one or not?
Sometimes, sometimes not.
I think this is one of the worst ones. Where do you brake? There's no reference. There's no reference here.
I feel as you come out over here, you see a little bit of a crest. So I kind of go for the moment I can see the corner, that's when I start to brake.
But it's a tough one, this one, I think. You know, the hairpin. Which gear?
I go down into 2 just before I enter. So gear 3 almost into the corner, just to help rotate the car a little bit better. But actually being here now, I never realized how steep it actually is going down in here.
And do you touch the curbs as well?
Yes. Corner 10?
Yep. Try to brake under the bridge, and then try to get the car a little bit in, keep the car straight. But in the end, I touch because you know, you can gain, of course, with a shortcut. There's no track limits over there.
Honestly, I don't know what the best way of taking the corner is. The way I do it is coming right onto the corb, try and pull it all the way around, and then get as straight as possible onto the next corner, so you can enter it with a hell of a lot more speed and brake in a straight line.
Cut.
That was a brilliant track talk with Oscar Rinčević and Von Scheltema. Thank you, gentlemen. We've learned a lot more about this circuit. There it is in animation for you. It is 4.2 kilometers, 4.6 kilometers, I beg your pardon, 14 turns. 6 left, 8 right-handers. It was built in 1991 and hosted F1 Grand Prix the same year for the first time of asking. And of course, it's become quite an iconic circuit. So right on cue then, which will come in 5 seconds time, you'll see the Richard Mille safety car pull off, and the rolling start will commence. There you go, pinpoint accurate in terms of timing, and the cars then are on their rolling start. We're bringing you the grid in full, and the all-black car you can see to the left-hand side is the one that's driven by the guy that just gave us a track talk with Von Scheltema. That's Oscar Rinčević from Scotland. And then alongside him, he's got Manu Gosner, who, of course, you will recall from the start of the program, comes here rich in the vein of success from Valencia, having taken 2 wins. So she will be desperate to try and find a way past the Kessel driver in the early stages of this race, when I would suggest the Pirelli tyres will offer the grip affordability to perhaps be able to mount an attack, but we will see. Okay, here comes the grid in full from back to front. It's Christian Kinch with some overtaking to do, going from P11 on the grid. Then we find von Skeltmar and Zoe Scrimpias. They're side by side on the 5th row. It's P10 and P9. James Wyland, welcome back, James. Good to see you. John Dillon has company, and it's Cristiano Marchel and Ray Acosta going from P6 and P5. Foad, Alganim and NM are going from P4 and P3. Then it's Manu Gosner and Oscar Rinčević. He's 143.315, giving him pole position for this Copa Shell race 1 of 2 across this weekend. So as Oscar indicated, he comes from Scotland then. He drives the all-black car. He's on pole position.
Well, that was good. Track was nice and clean. I think being here in the morning was quite helpful, and everyone did actually really, really well. So only clinched it by a little bit. And for the race, I mean, I think we all hope to go for first and fastest lap, but we'll see later on today.
We will indeed. Best of luck to you, Oscar. Best of luck to all of the drivers. Alongside me then, who you'll hear from periodically during the course of the race when I've collapsed into my notes, is my colleague Nico Spalek. It's going to be a good race in very, very hot temperatures.
It's going to be a good race, and tire preservation is going to be key, because this is very much a technical circuit, lots of turns, different radiuses. So once you have your tires go off, you will have to suffer, and so keeping those tires fresh will be key, and you can't run in behind another car too closely for a very long time, or it will kill them.
Right, let's see who does what and where from when, as the cars then on their formation lap. Now, starts are critical in the Ferrari Challenge and are ruled with a rod of iron from our race control and our race control director, race director, if you will, Claudio Garavini, will not only keep an eye on track limits, but will also keep a weathered eye on making sure the start is to the correct sequence. Every car has to pass through their grid box on the formation lap, and there the safety car peeling off into the pit lane, and therefore it becomes the responsibility of Oscar Rinčević and Manu Gosner then to control the pace of the rolling start. Every car has got to go through their grid boxes. They've got to be lined up side by side in grid formation. We throw the lights to the top of the screen for you. And, well, Zoe Scrimpias trying to get going right at the start. So too James Wyland. This brilliant shot from our drone. And James Wyland on a real mission here. I could see from the back of the pack trying to go through Manu Gosner and Oscar Rinčević with a drag race going into turn number 1. Ray Acosta on the inside, you can see in the all-red car, but Oscar Rinčević did everything that he needed to do, but Manu Gosner is sticking with him, and this is for the lead of the race. Side by side, eventually she has to yield, but it was very bold and ambitious from Manu Gosner to try and go all the way through. Von Skeltmar already has been overtaken, I think, by Christian Kinch. They're side by side, a little touch between the two of them. Robin is racing, they say. It's Rinčević from Gosner from NM. Then it's Foad Alganim ahead of Cristiano Marchel and James Wyland then, who is trying to make headway. Yellow flag at turn 3, which will be, I suspect, for John Dillon, who I can't see anywhere other than at the bottom of the timing pile.
Yeah, von Skeltmar looked like he was moving up the order at the beginning of the start, but then dropped back through that first sequence of turns, and safety car has been called. I just thought that I saw that on the side of the track, but no. Oh yeah, there is a safety car board on the left-hand side, not reflected in the graphics yet, but a safety car has been called.
Indeed, we get that on the graphics right now, and it also comes through on our race control screen, which we have access to in the studio. So safety car called for, and this is the reason why then. So there's Ray Acosta, there's James Wyland. I was saying that's the reason why. We're actually not seeing the reason why. So did John falter at the start? He's out of the car, and he's perfectly okay, the Formula Racing driver. I would suspect he's a bit grumpy, but did you see what happened? Because I didn't.
No, we were looking to the forefront, and John Dillon, unfortunately for his sake, didn't qualify very high up the order. And it's always this funnel through turns 1, 2, and 3, that right, left, right, where you can be caught out. There is runoff area there, but you know, a little bit of an inauspicious touch can send you around. We didn't see it. I'm sure we will get a replay which will give us clarity.
Ironically, of course, they're at the start of the race, your tyres are colder than they're not up to operating temperature, even though the ambient temperature and track temperature is so hot. You still need kind of a lap, really, to bring the tyres up to temperature, and therefore everyone is tiptoeing for grip, if you like, at the very, very start of the race. Conjecture on our part, but we will doubtless see what happened. As you can see, James Wyland moved up some 2 places right at the start of the race, having got by Ray Acosta and Zoe Scrimpias, and good job done by James Wyland. Let's ride on board with our race leader, currently Oscar Rinčević, the Kessel driver, leading Manuela Gosner, who drives for the Ineco Riparto Corsa Ram team. And while we are behind the safety car right now for, I suspect, not a long period of time, remind you that, as we take a look at the replay here, let's try and see what happened here. Zoe Scrimpias trying to put himself through the middle. There's John Dillon, Ray Acosta on his outside. And, yeah, there's Zoe Scrimpias. There is John Dillon. He's in the orange and white car, so he just got to the inside of von Skeltmar. And it would suggest that from our screen, and a message we're just seeing on the screen, that, that spat him out big time, didn't it? That there was contact potentially between himself and von Skeltmar.
Yeah, and that kind of plays into the picture that Fons actually had a decent start, but then found himself way down the order. So certainly a little bit of a coming together. Obviously through those turns, both cars are effectively very light. They have little grip, and the slightest bit of momentum change to spinning the car around, you have effectively zero chance of controlling that. So,
well, and it looked like quite a speed as he impacted, but we know John is perfectly okay. He's walked away from the car. The integral safety of the 296 Challenge car is unquestioned. If you'd like to be in touch with us on social media, we would love you, because you can interact with us on the air at Facebook. Go to Ferrari Races. On Instagram, it's the same handle, Ferrari Races, or on X, it is at Ferrari Races. Love you to be part of it. Yeah, interact with us in a broadcast environment, should you so desire, and ask any questions you like about the Ferrari Challenge. We will try and answer them for you. We are with the safety car at the moment here in Barcelona. And the incident involving cars 151 and 177 is under investigation. Unfortunately, we have lost John Dillon. Von Skeltmar still running, and to be fair, despite the fact he'd seemingly maybe dropped a couple of places, he's still running okay. The fastest lap was going to come from James Wyland, who had a slingshot of a start. Brilliant job done by the driver that has raced not only here in Europe, but also across North America and also in Japan as well. Oscar Rinčević leading from Manu Gosner. The recovery operation for the John Dillon car is underway, but we stay behind the safety car until they are happy, and I'm told right now the safety car will come in at the conclusion of this lap. So, good job done by the recovery team here at Barcelona and the Circuit de Catalunya, Nico.
absolutely, and this will give the teams and the drivers a good head start. Generally, we get the indication that the safety car is coming in more towards the end of Sector 2. It has already happened in Sector 1, so all the drivers will now be ready to mentally and physically prepare themselves, and especially their 296 Challenge cars for the restart.
So, Oscar Rinčević, then Manu Gosner. Now, Oscar Rinčević will control the pace of the restart. What Manu's got to do from this team, Ineco Riparto Corsa Ram, she's got to try and anticipate when she thinks Oscar Rinčević is going to give it 100% on the loud pedal. She wants to stay as close as she can. NM is trying to back them up as well. So this is going to be very, very interesting, the restart here.
Absolutely, and by virtue of the last few turns on this track being very straight, there is no real braking zone. It's going to be really, really difficult for Oscar to catch the other drivers out, but equally for the other drivers, they need to really anticipate them, because if he gets a head start and gets up the road, it's going to be very difficult to catch him.
You've nailed that absolutely perfectly. There's Conrad Grunewald on the very left-hand side of your screen talking to his driver, James Wyland, who's running P6. And of course, there is race radio in the Ferrari Challenge, and that's why their driver coaches can talk to their respective drivers. The top two trying to break away, look from NM. I wonder whether NM is going to try and get something of a slingshot here, you know. So let's see. We ride on board with the safety car looking back. Or we did, as the safety car peels off right now, and Oscar Rinčević gets ready to rumble. Manuela Gostner trying to anticipate it. She's almost on the inside of Oscar Rinčević, who goes now. It's a good restart from Oscar Rinčević, but Manu probably anticipated that as well as she could have done. Here they go then into turn number 1. Downhill first on this start-finish straight. And Cristiano Marchel trying to put himself to the inside of Fawad Al-Ghanim. Nothing doing, has to come out of that potential overtake, and Oscar Rinčević right now is going to put the pedal to the metal and really try and eke out a margin between himself and Manuela Gostner running in P2. It's NM that's running in P3 ahead of Fawad Al-Ghanim. Then it is Cristiano Marchel ahead of James Wyland. Ray Acosta trying to come back at James Wyland all the way around the outside. It's going to be a long way around there. Ray Acosta is into the gravel. He's sideways through there. If he can keep his foot in, he should be able to rejoin the tarmac, and I think he does, but he will have distributed quite a bit of gravel. Marco Bononomi, his driver coach, looks on and just shakes his head. Cristiano Marchel we're watching right now, running in P5 as Ray Acosta is dropping down to P10, of course, by dint of his little excursion into the gravel as he tried to go around the outside of James Wyland. Bold and ambitious and certainly very brave. It didn't work on this occasion. NM being tracked somewhat by Fawad Al-Ghanim, who's made a terrific debut in the Ferrari Challenge. He looked very, very impressive in qualifying. He's been driving in the Club Challenge in the Middle East, and the Club Challenge, if I can be so bold, is something like a feeder category, really, into the Ferrari Challenge. Here's Ray Acosta then, and trying to go, I don't know whether he was trying to go around the outside or whether he was very nearly on the back of James Wyland and he had to take avoiding action, Nico.
Yeah, based on these pictures, I would tend to think the latter. I think it was more in avoidance, and then it just had too much speed to scrub it off and stay on the tarmac, but good thing he made it back. There we can see in picture Oscar Rinčević's lead, 1.77 seconds, so he has broken away a little bit. Everybody else fairly close together now.
And of course, Manuela Gostner, she will have to change her strategy now from attack to defend. Fastest lap comes from our race leader. He's got the tyres into their temperature window, a 1:45. 6:09 from Oscar Rinčević. He sets the fastest lap. Bear in mind, there's an additional point in the race for the fastest lap in the race. At the moment, that stays with Oscar Rinčević. So I was saying, Manuela Gostner, her strategy has got to go from attack to defense because she's got both NM and Fawad Al-Ghanim within striking distance, and it's almost a three-way party for that P2 place because Cristiano Marchel is almost in there as well in the red and yellow colours of his 296 Challenge car. First 10 minutes of the race done. We've got 19.5 minutes remaining, plus one lap. You're joining us live from the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona, and this is Ferrari Challenge Copa-Shell. With the car we're looking at now, the blue and white car of Manuela Gostner P2, there's an MP3, there is Fawad Al-Ghanim, who is running in P4. Great sound of these Ferrari Challenge 296 cars then, as they make their way around this really rather revered but very technical and difficult Barcelona circuit. So great images from our drone then, as Oscar Rinčević continues to extend his lead. It's up to 2.662 seconds right now. Good job being done by Oscar Rinčević. Manuela Gostner seems steadfast as we look at the Faye speed camera, which gives you some indication of just how quick these cars are, particularly down the start from the straight, where you're also running downhill as well, Nico.
Indeed, and Cristiano Marchel probably the most lively, putting the pressure on Fawad Al-Ghanim, and there is the gap, really, really minimal. Cristiano Marchel really looks the most lively currently, but as we said before, in these conditions you can't run right in the slipstream of the other car for lap after lap after lap without compromising your Pirelli P0s. At least that's what conventional wisdom takes us. We've seen drivers do it anyway and to great success, but that's something that his team and his driver coach and he himself will be very much aware of.
Convention and wisdom just sometimes can be thrown out of the window. And that's why we love the Ferrari Challenge so much. As Christian Kinch right now turns the wick up on Zeus Grimpias. This is the fight that's going on for P7. So Christian Kinch for Formula Racing and Zeus Grimpias for the Ineco team. You can see that Christian Kinch is quicker. It's all very well being quicker than the car ahead of you. You've got to find a way by as well. And honestly, technically, it's difficult sometimes as Zeus Grimpias runs with a different line through that turn, and that almost played into the hands of Christian Kinch, who's got really close now as they climb uphill. James Wyland is just ahead of them. But this is a fight that's going on for P7. Zeus Grimpias really having to defend here. Christian Kinch, who's been a long-time and long-term campaigner in the Ferrari Challenge, whereas Zeus Grimpias is only in his second season of racing as we run the telemetry on these cars. What speed do we reach? 250 kilometers per hour, surely, before we hit to the, well, 260. Make that 275. 276 kilometers per hour before braking for turn one, Nico. That's impressive.
That is impressive and really, really quick, and we see it through the fire speed cam every now and then. Christian Kinch, as you say, he looks much quicker through the twisty parts of the track. Now, obviously, the cars are identical in principle, but the teams have a little bit of wiggle room in terms of setup, so you can set the car up for a little bit more or less downforce and therefore a little bit more or less speed. I think on this track you really have to be aware of tire preservation and therefore not use a setup that will leave the car drift too much, but we never know.
Every driver, of course, has their own preferences. Christian Kinch now tries to get to the inside of Zeus Grimpias. We're told by race control that the incident right in the start of the race, which brought out the safety car, there's going to be no further action after they have investigated it. It's deemed a racing incident, one assumes. So Zeus Grimpias sticking his elbows out of his 296 Challenge car to try and prevent Christian Kinch from coming through. Christian Kinch is also going to have Von Skotemuff company in just a moment or two, and he'll be stuck right in the middle of this 296 Challenge sandwich. What a place to be, frankly. Zeus Grimpias doesn't look as comfortable in the car. It has to be said, as he has done on previous races. And perhaps he's not as comfortable defending as he is attacking, because he's a great attacking driver. But right now, he is definitely having to defend, which of course is playing into the hands of James Wyland, who's running in P6, and he's able to escape up the road. So there's P2, 3, 4, and there is the man that we were talking about, James Wyland. As the cars go by our FIA speed camera then, James Wyland currently running in that P6 position. And Christian Kinch has really tried very, very hard, but critically, and the point that you make earlier on, you can't run in the dirty air for too long. I think he's just bailed out of this, realizing that after a couple of laps, he's not been able to find a way by, and therefore he's probably feeling, I'm going to let it cool for a couple of laps and then have another go.
Yeah, indeed. Meanwhile, out front, Oscar Rintovich leads Manuel Agosto by 12.5 seconds. Manuela has reeled him back a little bit, just a few tenths over the last lap and a half. So is that a reversal of trend, or is that just a momentary glitch? We will find out, but we will keep an eye on this fighting group and battle.
I think Oscar is just managing the gap perfectly, if truth be told. I think he knows where it's at. He's got the pace in the car. He knows what he needs to do as NM comes under a bit of pressure now from Fawad Alghanim. And here comes the factions that are battling over this P7 place. Zeus Grimpias currently has that, but Christian Kinch wants it badly. So I was mentioning then that Fawad Alghanim comes from the Middle East, where he's been racing in Club Challenge. Well, not racing, competing in Club Challenge, because Club Challenge is not racing. You're up against the clock, and you're out there in cars and measuring yourself against the clock. So it's not competitive from that point of view, but it is seen as a great feeder into the Ferrari Challenge, and Club Challenge takes place in all the regions that Ferrari Challenge exists. So the likes of the UK and North America, and here in Europe, and of course Japan and Australasia as well. And Zeus Grimpias really having to drive through the rear view screen as Christian Kinch then has taken his kind of 2 laps off to relax and reset and reignite the fight for this P7 place. NM and Fouad Alghanim then. I think what it does, it just proves how difficult sometimes it is to overtake here. And there is Konrad Grunewald from the pit wall looking on at the battle that's going on between NM and Fouad Alghanim. Cristiano Marchel and then Konrad's driver, James Wyland, behind them. The more these two fight, of course, it allows potentially Cristiano Marchel to get a little bit closer once again, but not so much as to make a meaningful difference. We've got 12.5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining in this Ferrari Challenge Scope Shell races. Here comes Christian Kinch. Is he going to try and get underneath the Zoe Skrimpias car? He wasn't quite close enough to be able to do so on this occasion. So it's as we were then, with Oscar Rinčević from Manuela Gostner, NM, Fouad Alghanim, Cristiano Marchel, Chase Wyland, Zoe Skrimpias, Christian Kinch von Skeltermar, Ray Acosta, and regrettably right at the start of the race we lost John Dillon. So another lap is put in the book then as NM crosses the timing line, and now Oscar is really extending his margin. And the gap between P1 and P2 up to 4.4 seconds. Christian Kinch is having to defend rather than attack right now because von Skeltermar is right on Christian Kinch. So Kinch is the meat in this sandwich, if you like, and he's having to chase hard and defend at the same time, and that's always really tricky. So equally, that's the case for Fouad Alghanim now, who again has had to change his outlook from attack to defend because Cristiano Marchel, who's currently running P5, is looking ever so lively against the racer from Kuwait. So as we run the clock on them, you can see that Cristiano Marchel now is a tad quicker. It's all very well being a tad quicker, you've got to try and provoke a mistake. There is Cristiano's driver coach, Rui Aguas. Very top racing driver, long associated with the Ferrari Challenge, and he's very quick. And he's a great driver coach as well. As there you can see, Cristiano Marchel is probably being guided and advised on where to try and make a move on the car of Fouad Alghanim that is P4 at the moment. Can't help but feel that if Marchel is able to get by the Fouad Alghanim car, then he would be able to put the chase onto NM potentially. But for the moment, it's nothing doing as the cars now head down the start-finish straight. They will cross the crest, and our Faye speed camera will pick the cars up as they run past us at 276 kilometers per hour. These 296 Challenge cars, super speedy. And there's lots of promise of overtakes, but not so much delivery by the drivers, who do find it difficult on this quite technical and demanding track. And let's not lose sight of the fact that these drivers are performing in truly sauna-like conditions. Now, the 296 Challenge car does have air conditioning, and it works really well. All the drivers say that. Absolutely necessary in the warm summer conditions that we find here in Barcelona this weekend. So for the moment, I rather think that Cristiano Marchel has just backed out of this to give himself a bit of breathing space and a bit of room before trying to attack Fouad Alghanim again, which allows Fouad to get a little bit closer to NM now, which of course would be a potential podium place because NM is running in P3. It's Manu Gostner out on her own in P2, some 5 seconds, as near as makes no difference, behind Oscar Rinčević, who is our race leader. We've not seen a lot of him because, frankly, he's out there on his own and there are compelling battles going on behind. Although none of those battles have yielded perhaps the result that the battlers were targeting and aiming for. But that's to take nothing away from the drivers because, my goodness, it must be A, difficult to overtake on a technical track like Circuit de Catalunya. B, blooming hard to do it in these temperatures.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would argue that those who are defending are fairly satisfied with the fact that they didn't yield the position, but certainly from an attacking point of view, it hasn't given us the overtakes that we all want to see. But, you know, there is beauty in defense, and we've seen plenty of that. And now that we can see Zoe Scrimpias, who's somewhat relinquished the attack from Christian Kinch. He's now trying to get on terms with James Wyland, who would rather look forward, but he needs to check his review screen as well.
Well, at the moment, James, as you say, has got Zoe Scrimpias for company, but it's not close enough company to worry him quite yet. Christian Kinch now comes back for another go. And in the Light Championship predictor, if the race were to finish now, it would be Manu Gostner on 107 points, NM would be P2 on 76, and John Dillon, who of course will be his luck hasn't gone his way today, because it will be a DNF for John Dillon in this race, which means that drops him down to P3 in the championship on 71 points. So be a bitter pill to swallow for the UK-based driver, John Dillon.
For sure, and Manuel Gostner, remember, had a torrid start to the season.
Yes.
Really poor point results, not necessarily pace, but just things didn't go her way, and she's recovered impressively and now leads the championship by a healthy margin. And that only goes to prove things can turn around very quickly in the championship.
Yes, and that's what's really compelling about the Ferrari Challenge, is that things can happen so quickly. And actually, one of my mantras has always been, when you look at the form guide of what's happened in race 1, don't necessarily think that's going to give you a predictor as to what's going to happen in race 2 tomorrow. We are on board with our race leader. What can he see? Nothing but clear tarmac ahead of him. We run the telemetry on the Oscar Rinčević car direct from the cockpit onto your television screen as he pulls 8,000 revs before changing into 6th gear. Brakes, then back on the throttle once again in 3rd gear, now up to 4th gear, pulling something like 170 kilometers per hour before dropping down the gears again and dropping downhill as well. He's taking a bit of curve there. It's kind of exactly as he said during his track talk with Fons Skelterma earlier on today. So he was telling us exactly how it is inside the 296 Challenge car. Great job being done by Oscar Rinčević, who's leading by a margin of 5.654 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely, and exactly as he predicted he would do it and explained, he is following form. Shout out to our drivers. We only have a total of 4 track limit warnings across all the drivers in this field, so everybody very respectful of where the delineation of the circuit are, so no penalties coming into play, apparently anyway, but with 5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining, as Ray Acosta, who had that excursion into the gravel trying to get on terms with James Wyland, is now finding himself on the rear bumper of Fons Skelterma, and he looks like he's got a little bit more traction, a little bit more grip through the turns.
I think I would agree with that. Fons Skelterma running wide, that opens up the window to Ray Acosta, but of course Fons was able to carry a bit more speed there. You can see when Ray went off into the gravel, I think it's just moved the rear diffuser a little bit, Nico, but now I think he'll get to the inside of Fons Skelterma. It'll be a drag race into turn number 1. Where can Acosta place the car? He needs to be on the inside line, I would suggest, but that quickly becomes the outside in turn 2. So he's going to have to be decisive here and really go for it. He goes from a long way back, tries to get the car settled under braking, but Fons Skelterma, clean, tidy, rotating the car perfectly through that chicane, means that denies Ray Acosta the opportunity to put it up into P9. But now Fons runs wide, Ray Acosta on the inside, but again, Fons is able to carry a bit more speed. Now they go side by side. There is no centimetre given. I think Ray did bail out of that a little bit to avoid any contact with Fons Skelterma. Great racing between the two of them, and Christian Kinch having a go at Zoe Scrimpias as well, as Acosta now looks at the outside of Ray Acosta. So 2 separate battles going on here. One is for the P7 place, the other is for the P9 place. And Acosta is using every single bit of tarmac and quite a bit of curbing as well. As long as he keeps 2 wheels on the tarmac within the white lines, it'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah, I think now he's in a position. Von Skeltema tries to move over and defend, but let's see if he can hold the position as now we go on the NM Al-Ghanim battle, which obviously is for a podium position and therefore effectively looks like it's going to yield better results or bigger results and prizes come the end of the race. Great to see that the battles are heating up towards the end of this race now.
2 3/4 minutes plus 1 lap as NM is pursued by Fouad Al-Ghanim. Through the speed camera they go right now. Oscar Rinčević from Manu Gosner. All the other battles are going on elsewhere as we try and pick up as NM is able to defend and hold on to this P3 place at the moment. But what a dream debut it would be in the Ferrari Challenge for Fouad Al-Ghanim to put himself on the podium. And what great defensive driving from Von Skeltema, who's been able to deny Ray Acosta, who has done everything but throw the kitchen sink out of the cockpit of the car in his quest to get by Von Skeltema. But Fons just knows where to place the car, and he's just got that element of momentum that he's able to deny Ray Acosta. It's great racing from both of them, Nico.
Yeah, it looks, you can always say that Ray Acosta will dream of open doors all night tonight if he doesn't make the overtake, because it always looks like there is open track space in front of him, and there was the scene earlier which we cut away from, and he almost nudged himself on the inside, or actually had nudged himself on the inside, but Fons kept it in, and, well, actually, Ray had gone by, but Fons, after a little bit of a slide, the first time that Ray took the wider line over the last few laps, Fons used all his spirits and came back at him.
2 driver coaches there, Marco Bononomi and Rui Aguas, looking on. They're enjoying it as much as we are. And I have to say, despite the heat, I bet the drivers are having an absolute blast out there because there's some brilliant driving. And credit to Ray Acosta and credit to Von Skeltema. What a fantastic, respectful drive between both of them, Nico. You're absolutely right. Von Skeltema just bided his time. Ray Acosta, who'd potentially run out of grip on the back end of the car, he was just sliding, and Fons was able to come through and retake that place that Ray had momentarily taken away from him. As well, here, Fouad Al-Ghanim is trying really hard to pressure NM into making a mistake, and he needs to get this done and get the hurry up because there's only 30 seconds plus a lap, and there is Cristiano Marchel right up his trumpet as well.
Absolutely. Based on where Oscar Rinčević is, it's going to be the remainder of this lap plus 1 more, so it's getting late early for all those who still want to make an overtake.
And there are plenty of those that would like to do that before the end of this race. Is it going to be, is it going to happen? Well, 1 lap and 10 seconds will tell us. So 3-way fight going on here for the final podium place potentially, because Cristiano Marchel is in this. Now, what Cristiano could do here is really take this fight to the 2 drivers ahead of him, let them have a big battle, and then come through and try and steal the honors. You know, when I say it like that, it sounds terribly easy. Well, of course it isn't, because if it was, everyone would be doing it. And there you can see Fouad is just trying to really hurry, and now he's just through the curbs there, but NM holds on. Our drone picks the cars up then with Cristiano Marchel. Now you're climbing uphill. Here's Rui Aguas then trying to encourage his driver, Cristiano Marchel, to push these 2 drivers into making mistakes, Cristiano, and you're going to be the big beneficiary here. Not sure that's exactly what Rui said, but we have to be mindful that the driver-coach-driver relationship is, of course, private between themselves. I was just trying to paraphrase what I thought he would say.
Yeah, unfortunately, and there is NM on the inside trying to defend, and I think he's kept it nicely. I mean, on this such a technical circuit, almost your best chance is trying to push the other driver into a mistake, because the obvious overtaking spot just doesn't exist on this circuit, so you have to find a gap somewhere or sometimes make a gap, and Cristiano Marchel is maybe thinking about making a gap.
He got very sideways there, and he's lost out now because he was right on Fouad, and now he isn't because the car was sliding. He controlled it beautifully and held onto it, but potentially that was his best opportunity to get into P4, which has gone away right now. So NM is still under strife. The one driver that really isn't under any strife whatsoever, And, you know, with 10 seconds to the good, Oscar Rinčević, he arguably, I would say he won this race in qualifying. He did a great job in qualifying once the race had started, and in fairness, he had to go through a safety car restart as well. He knew all he needed to do was build a bit of margin, and once he'd done that, if he was able to just be super smooth and protect the tyres, he would be okay.
Yeah, that sounds very easy. I'm sure it wasn't quite as easy inside the cockpit, but Oscar Rinčević made no mistake that race. There is no question.
So he has just one turn to do, and Oscar Rinčević will put a win into the book then. He took his first pole position earlier today, and now he wins here at Barcelona in Ferrari Challenge Copa-Shell. Oscar Rinčević from Scotland is thrilled to bits. Manu Gosner, well, she really tried to take it to him right at the start of the race. She completes P2, NM takes P3 ahead of Fouad Al-Ghanim. What a great debut, young man. Cristiano Marchel, then James Weiland. Christian Kinch did get by Zoe Skrimpias, as did von Skeltermar and Ray Acosta, because Skrimpias has dropped right down the order. So, wow. That's the reason Zoe Skrimpias then is beached in the gravel. How did that happen? Was there a little assist? Christian Kinch well on the inside there. One door mirror goes for its own little lap, and Zoe Skrimpias goes for a goes into the gravel. I am so glad I'm not Claudio Garavini, because I wouldn't want to call that one.
I mean, in any event, Zoe Skrimpias will still be classified in P10 because he completed the requisite number of laps. But
that's a good word, requisite. I like that.
Well, Zoe Skrimpias would have certainly liked to park the car in Parc Fermé, but no such doing. Unfortunately, as you say, race control will take a look at that and make their own decisions. The race has ended. Oscar Rinčević, race winner Manuela Gosner. I think she did everything that she could and brought home the points for P2, which, as we saw in the live championship, certainly no mean feat for her and serves her overall goal, which is to be champion of the season. NM gets another podium.
Yes. Well done to NM. Here is the confirmed classification then from race control. And it is Oscar Rinčević P1 from Manu Gosner P2. Then it's NM and Fouad Al-Ghanim on his debut in the Ferrari Challenge here in Europe. Cristiano Marchel P5, James Weiland P6. Then it was Christian Kinch and von Skeltermar ahead of Ray Acosta and Zoe Skrimpias, as you quite rightly say, will classify in P10. Unfortunately, John Dillon was not able to complete the race, which is a great shame. So there we have it. Podium to come, of course. That's only when the drivers have made it back to Parc Fermé, which is where they're heading right now. And we're riding on board with Oscar Rinčević, the Kessel driver then, down the pit lane. He will, of course, have the honor of parking that car in P1. Nice place to put it.
Yeah, arguably the best place. Best place in the house.
He will be congratulated once he's been shoehorned out of the car. The incident involving cars 147 and 128 in turn 13, which was Zoe Skrimpias and Christian Kinch, has been noted. Congratulations, Oscar. Trying to listen into what's being said there. Congratulations. David Gosner there congratulates his sister Manuela. She's done a great job. David himself will be out racing shortly. Trofeo Pirelli Am driver.
And on pole in class.
And in pole. NM is out and has taken P3. Interesting choice of celebration music being played out by the Circuit de Catalunya. A bit of a classical bent to it, I would say. Hello. Was that private then? There's Oscar Rinčević. Well done, Oscar.
Thank you so much.
Such a polite man. First met him when he raced Nico in the first round of the Ferrari Challenge UK in Navarra, also here in Spain. So first met him there. Really nice man, and clearly a very good racing driver.
No question about that. And if any proof was needed, this race certainly provided it.
It did. Didn't put a foot wrong, as it were, not one wheel out of place. Well done to Oscar Rinčević, driving for the Kessel racing team, of course, headed up by Ronnie Kessel, himself no bad peddler. But Kessel Racing have been responsible for so many stars in the Ferrari Challenge and many other racing series. And there you can see Ludovica about to speak to him as he takes on some water here. And
Oscar, congratulations. A perfect way to start this weekend from pole position to victory. You made a very clear and perfect race with a good job with your team. After a good start, you stay away from all the risk.
Thank you very much. No, it was great. I was a little bit worried when the safety car came out. It's the first time ever doing a safety car restart from the front, and I think we managed it quite well, but it was quite apprehensive coming around to the last corner just before then, and once we got away, then the rest of the race was really good.
Thank you for your time. Congratulations again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
oh, that's interesting. Of course, Oscar's first time you've had to do a safety car restart from the start of the race. I didn't realise that, so thanks for advising, because that makes it even more impressive. The highlights. Here is race 1, Ferrari Challenge, Copa-Shell, then Oscar Rinčević, Manu Gosler side by side, and 3, 4 and 5 abreast in some places. James Wyland getting a very good start right at the start of the race, and Ray Acosta trying to come through as well at the same time. You can just see at the back of the picture here John Dillon being spat out into the fence. There was contact between himself and von Skelterma. Regrettably, that would be the end of the race for John Dillon. That brought out the safety car. When we got back to racing then, James Wyland, well, on the inside of Ray Acosta, who went rallycrossing through the gravel, was able to keep it pointing in the right direction, though. It was a big save from Ray Acosta. And Zoe Skrimpias and Christian Kinch, well, they were having a battle all the way through the race over a P7 position. And Oscar Rinčević, though, once he got his nose in front and built up something of a margin, he was in a fairly protected position. Now, von Skelterma and Ray Acosta having a superb battle, which was for P8. And Ray Acosta putting himself ahead of von Skelterma initially, but then watch this slide, controlled by Ray Acosta, but opened up a big enough window for von Skelterma to go through to retake that P8 position. Now, Zoe Skrimpias and Christian Kinch had it coming together right at the very end of the race, which put Zoe Skrimpias into the gravel. But for Oscar Rinčević, it was going to be the P1 position. The checkered flag awaited the driver from Scotland, from Kessel Racing. He was delighted to take the win ahead of Manuela Gosner and NM, who took the P3 place in race 1 for Copa-Shell in Barcelona as Oscar Rinčević celebrated victory.
Yeah, and thus far, no indication on our timing screen from race control about that incident that we just saw again in replay. So I'm sure they will have a look in good time and decide whether any sanctions are necessary. But first, and it doesn't affect that, the podium beckons.
Indeed it does. So Michele Mambelli, who's dressed in his suit and tie, to the left-hand side of your screen, will be bringing the drivers out for their podium celebrations, which we always enjoy. Here he is.
Podium category, and the winners first on the podium from Italy, NM.
NM taking P3 then. Heads to the third step of the podium.
From Italy, Manuela Gosner.
The Inico Rapato Corsa Ram driver, Manu Gosner, then takes P2. And here comes our race winner, Oscar Rinčević, to the top step of the podium. Well done, driver 121. And here comes the national anthem. the abbreviated version of the national anthem plays out for Oscar Rinčević, and Lilu Vadu is going to be making the trophy presentations, I believe. Sure enough, there she is. Ferrari factory driver. Super young lady, very, very talented. Lilu Vadu then making the trophy presentation to our third place driver, which is NM. Taking P2, Manu Gosner. Well done, Manuela. But then on the top step of the podium, the race winner, the biggest trophy, the biggest smile, probably goes the way of Oscar Rinčević. I'm not sure the Copa Team trophy has been presented yet. Here it is. Well done, Michele. The Copa Team trophy very much apart because the team's so important to the drivers. Celebrations and success. All the photographs will be taken by the focus of the world's media on the Ferrari Challenge Copa Shell drivers. Then Lilu will make haste her exit, I suspect, before the champagne gets underway, and it will be NM that wins the champagne race, in my opinion. What do I know? Oh, it's Manu Gosner by some measure. So, once again, I get it wrong. Top three drivers then. For Rosso Corsa, NM takes P3. For Ineco, Reparto Corsa Ram, it's Manuela Gosner with a very, very good P2. However, the KSL Racing driver, Oscar Rinčević, wins it with a margin of very nearly 11 seconds. So let's take a look at the Drivers' Championship standings right now. Manu Gosner leads 31 points ahead of NM. It's John Dillon dropping down to P3 now. Then it's Cristiano Marchel, Oscar Rinčević, Fabrizio Fontana, who's missing this weekend. Then it's Joyce Grimpias and Fons Skeldermar. They're the top 8 in the Copa Shell Drivers' Championship. Ernst Kirkmeyer, Thomas Gosner, Christian Kinch, Tibor Valent, Ray Acosta. James Wyland and Eric Chung then occupying the next places ahead of Willem van der Vorm, Michael Martin, Fouad Alganim, then it is Motohiko Isasaki, Corinna Gosner, Ruslan Sadriv, Germano Salernitano, who's P22. And, well, there we have it then. Ferrari Challenge Copa Shell Race 1 here at the Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona is done and dusted. We have races still to come from Copa Shell Am and also from Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli Am. As we'll rerun the fun all afternoon long here with the Ferrari Challenge. Please make sure you stay with us. But from our Copa Shell drivers, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Bye-bye for now. Hello everybody, welcome to the Circuit de Catalunya here in Barcelona for round 6 of the Ferrari Challenge Europe season for 2025. You join us in preparation for the Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am race, which will feature some 24 cars mixed across the two classes of Pirelli and Pirelli Am. The Pirelli drivers with the red strip across the top of the windscreen, the Am drivers with the white strip across the top of the windscreen. So allow me to formally welcome you once again to Barcelona then and the Circuit de Catalunya. It completes the second third, if you like, of our calendar for 2025. Our double header, if you like, in Spain, where at the end of June we were in Valencia, but now mid-July here we are in Barcelona. Before we head off to the Ardennes region of Belgium and Spa-Francorchamps, before the final round, round 8, which is taking place at the Mugello circuit in Italy between the 21st and 26th of October, and will also form the Finale Mondiale event there as well. Very much looking forward to that. Track temperature right now is 49 degrees. Air temperature is 31 degrees. And there is just a flutter of wind around just to take the edge off the heat, but it is really, really warm here in Barcelona. Now, in Valencia, what a weekend this young man had. No, not the team boss with the headphones on, but Yasin Ferrati, who's sitting inside the Emil Ferrari racing car. He's put it on pole position here in Barcelona as well with a 141.244. And the best of the Pirelli Am drivers is this young man, David Gosner, driving the number 50 car. And he was the best of the Pirelli Am drivers and quicker than a lot of the Pirelli drivers. So David Gosner is a Pirelli Am driver. Of course, Yasin Ferrati is a Pirelli driver. Difference between the two categories you'll identify from the graphics and also the top of the windscreen. Pirelli is red, Pirelli Am is white. There's the Richard Mille safety car, which will be leading the cars away on their formation lap. As always, a rolling start for the Ferrari Challenge. And right now, let's take a look back at what happened in Valencia. The Circuito Ricardo Tormo then. Michael Verhagen did a great job for Am qualifying. Doing a brilliant job for Pirelli qualifying, though, was Yasin Ferrati, who managed to see off Felix Herziger and his challenge right at the start of the race. And Nobuhiro Amado found himself pointing in the wrong direction. He was able to recover, thankfully, and Hendrik Viol in the purple and yellow colours. And, well, Felix Herziger under real stress, but Yasin Ferrati took the win in Pirelli. And then it would be time for race 2. Once again, Yasin Ferrati qualified the car on pole position. So, therefore, all he'd got to do was pick up P1 going into turn number 1. Felix Herziger again would try and go around the outside, but there was nothing doing. Good moves from Max Mugelli right at the start of the race, and a number of drivers, including Henri Assi, taking a very wide line through turns 2 and 3. One of the Bidstrup brothers found the gravel. And there you can see Andrew Morrow putting on a good move as well. There was lots going on in the Pirelli and Pirelli Am races. Marco Zanassi having a torrid time of it as he collected Henri Assi. But it would be Yasin Ferrati again to make it 2 out of 2 for the Pirelli drivers. You can see the heat rising from the tarmac here at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. A number of spectators here to enjoy the race action from Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli. And as always, it's a busy place down there on the grid. David Gosner, the best of our Pirelli Am drivers, to the left-hand side of your picture right now. And all the drivers doing everything they can to try and keep themselves cool ahead of the start of the race. There's Hendrik Viola, points leader in Pirelli Am, to the left-hand side. He drives for Scuderia Prague Racing. And as our camera takes its way down the grid then, always interesting to take a look at the personalities. I also know the Ferrari factory driver that is Lilu Voodoo is down there as well. She'll be joining us on the air for parts of the race this afternoon, but she likes to be down there and get in and amongst the action at the grid at the start of the race. Right now with my colleague Ludovica, let's go inside the Ferrari Challenge.
The parts and accessory team takes part in Ferrari Challenge events, providing direct support to teams and drivers. For the European Championship, the team travels with 2 motorhomes specially equipped as mobile warehouses carrying to complete stock of spare parts for the 296 Challenge. The team is present at the circuit from Wednesday to Sunday throughout the event. During this time, they are fully operational and ready to promptly deliver any requested materials. In the event of an accident, they work closely with the teams to quickly identify and supply the necessary spare parts list to repair the car and get it back on track as soon as possible. Thanks to the experience and expertise gained in the field, the parts teams also offers technical support, helping teams accurately identify the most suitable components for each repair.
That was a wishbone being taken out of the shelf. I know that much about racing cars, you know. It was a wishbone, I'm sure of that. Well done to our team from the spare parts department of Ferrari, who do a fantastic job. So there you can see final stages of preparation for Quinn Veitlisbach, who qualified with a 142.813. 142.813. There is David Gostin. I've mentioned him more than once. He's the best of the AM drivers. And he's going from P3 on the grid, but P1 in class. Hendrik Viol, who has got a new race suit for this weekend. I haven't asked him about the significance of that, but I need to, because Hendrik has got a brand new race suit for this weekend. He is P2 in the Pirelli AM drivers. There's Felix Herziger, who's going from P2 for our Pirelli drivers. I remind you once again, sorry if it bores you, Pirelli drivers have got the red strip across the top of the windscreen. AM drivers have got the white strip across the top of the windscreen. So there we have it, and there's 24 drivers across the 2 categories. We're going to be hearing from Franco Girolami in just a moment, the Radici Automobili Sanassi Racing Ferrari Challenge driver.
I am Franco Girolami from Argentina, 33 years old. Wow, it's just amazing. I feel like a Ferrari Formula 1 driver. We are here in Barcelona in the first race. For me, in the Ferrari Challenge Europe, it's amazing. If the dream comes true, to be here in the Ferrari world, in the Ferrari family, with Marcialetti and Sanassi, for me, it's amazing. The ambient, the atmosphere inside the paddock, the car, the teams are very professional. I am surprised with the level of the driver and the team. 296 is amazing. It's a very nice car. For me, for myself, it's a very nice opportunity. Very happy with the car and I feel very confident. It's amazing. Just to be inside the Ferrari is the dream come true. With Marcialetti, with Sanassi, they believe in myself. They give me the confidence to put me in the car. So I am so grateful. For this opportunity, I will try to do my 110% to put the team in the correct place. So that's it. I show the Ferrari races here in Barcelona.
He was good with the clapperboard as well. Did you notice that bit of skill there? That was good to see. We're going to be heading for our 30-minute plus one race, 30-minute plus one lap race in just a moment. Here is the circuit in full for you, the very technical Circuit de Catalunya here in Barcelona. 4.6 kilometers, 14 turns, 6 left, 8 right-handers. And in these temperatures, it's very, very difficult to make this track work. We saw with the weather conditions that we had just at the beginning of the race, just how hot the tarmac is going to be. We'll bring you the grid in full in just a couple of moments then. Big grid of 24 cars across our 2 classes. Pirelli drivers are in the Cars with the red strip across the top of the windscreen are Am drivers with the white strip across the top of the windscreen. You can see them all weaving from side to side. It seems almost innocuous that the cars are weaving from side to side to generate temperature into the tyres when it is so warm. But of course, no tyre heaters are allowed in the Ferrari Challenge, so they've got to physically get those tyres up to temperature if they can during the course of this warm-up formation lap. Here comes the starting grid from back to front. Martin Havas and Armin Arifpour, they're both Am drivers on the 12th row of the grid. On the 11th, it's Otto Blank and Rafael Duran. Then we see David Akabadze and Herbert Guys. Herbert Guys perhaps out of position there on row 10. P18 for Hanno Laskowski, P17 for Andrew Morrow, another driver perhaps out of position. Danilo Del Favero, Angelo Fantana go from P16 and 15. Then it's Nobuhiro Imada. Max Mugelli is the first of our Pirelli drivers. We see P13. Vincenzo Scarpetta going from P12. Then it's Michael Verhagen alongside him. Marco Zanassi and a welcome back to Dylan Medler from Miami. And then we see Franco Girolami and Björn Grossman. They are P8 and P7 on the grid. Quinn Veitler's back and Hendrik Viola, P6 and P5. To the second row of the grid, where we find Gilles Renman and David Gosner. And then going from P2, it's Felix Herziger, who will be chasing Yasin Ferrati, who will be going from pole position once again in the Ferrari Challenge. He's in a sweet spot of success, having taken 2 race wins in Valencia. Will he make it 3 out of 3 in Spain? We'll see.
Another great pole position in the books. I think it was a mega lap. The second one was a little bit unnecessary to do, but anyways, I'm quite happy and looking forward for the race.
Thank you so much, Yasin Ferrati. Then delighted to welcome Lilou Vadou alongside me. We'll speak to her in just a moment. We'll get the race start underway. Not to put her under any pressure, she'll put me under pressure. So we'll get the race start underway. First of all, Ferrari factory driver on air with us. Fantastic stuff. On board with Hanno Laskowski then. All the drivers on this formation lap, what they need to do is line up in side-by-side grid formation. They have to run through their grid boxes on the rolling start for the start to be deemed an acceptable one. And it is the job of the Richard Mille safety cars to stack them all up, as you can see. That will disappear into the pit lane, being driven by Antonio Tamburini this weekend in the Ferrari Challenge. And we have 30 minutes plus 1 lap on the board for this Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli Am race in the reconfigured circuit to Catalunya. Then the Richard Mille safety car peels off into the pit lane. 1 turn to do before the drivers will see the lighting gantry. You can see Yasin Ferrati is champing at the bit to get going here, but they have to be side by side, then run through the grid boxes. Is Felix Herziger going to get the run on him going into turn number 1? Lights to the top of the screen for you. I would have said that that's a start that might be under investigation by race control as they drag race now down into turn number 1. Can Yasin Ferrati deny us? David Gosner with a blistering start for an Am driver. Felix Herziger trying to get to the inside of Yasin Ferrati, runs a bit wide, and Dizzy pick up an advantage through shortcutting that turn. That will be looked at by race control. David Gosner almost up into P2. We can see on our message screen that the start is under investigation already. Quelle surprise, I'm tempted to say, because it looked a bit messy to me from our Pirelli and Pirelli Am drivers. I think as Dylan Medler has been tagged and is in the gravel. That's 2 cars in the gravel. That's going to be a safety car, and not even 1 lap completed. But Felix Herziger was leading this race. The question is whether he was leading it as a consequence of the advantage he was able to take. I think it is Vincenzo Scarpetta that caught with Dylan Medler, and those 2 are out of the race. And Dylan has come here all the way from Miami to compete in the European Ferrari Challenge, which he does very, very often. And it will be a torrid start. We do get a safety car. Now, at long last, I can say hello to my dear friend, Ferrari factory driver, Lilou Vadou, who is alongside me here. That was a bit of a mucky start, wasn't it?
That was, for sure. Hello, everyone. Yeah, for sure, it's never easy to do a really easy start when you are a 24 car like that. You saw on the grid, you are behind the other car, you don't see, sometimes you want to overtake and you don't see another car in front, so sometimes it's a little bit the mess, like that was no, but I mean, it's a race, and it's never easy to have nothing when you are 24 car in the same category to fight for the same thing.
This guy's had no luck as well. Marco Zanassi, he's out of the race as well. So we're behind the safety car. We've got 2 cars that are going to have to be recovered right now. And just while everyone lines themselves up and gets themselves back into order again, just going to say congratulations to you, taking a win at Le Castellet, I believe with a former Ferrari Challenge driver, Custodio Toledo, who I used to speak in North America. Is that right?
Yes, that is right. we won in Le Castellet in LMS with Custodio Toledo, who did the Ferrari Challenge a few years ago. Honestly, it's nice because you have a good story from the Ferrari Challenge to know a victory with the GT3. So it's always nice to have a story like that with a guy who have a small car.
What was it like to win there? Must be particularly special for you.
For sure, that was special for me because that was the home race of the year. So it's always special to win at home. But yeah, honestly, I was super happy because we did a good job together, and we were able to win. So that was nice.
A point you made that I want to pick up on is the fact that Custodio Toledo, and I want to highlight you. I don't want to highlight him. You'll forgive me for that. But it does come from the Ferrari Challenge, and we are seeing now so many drivers that are using the Ferrari Challenge as perhaps as a stepping stone to other GT3 racing or endurance racing or whatever, which proves how valuable this is in the racing ecosystem.
No, for sure. No, we see a lot of drivers from Ferrari Challenge come to GT3 or même prototype. So that show is a really nice category with a good fight, 24 cars. So you have to prove what you do when you are in this category with exactly all the same cars.
Yes.
And this is something difficult when everyone have the same car to win. So I think it's really a good car to be, I mean, close to the GT3 because it's really fast car, the Ferrari Challenge. The lap time are super close to the GT3, so I think it's a good school championship.
Just looking at the replays of this start here, Lulu, I mean, that was David Gosner was almost welded to Yasin Ferrati right at the start of this race. And as you can see, a few drivers had to take to the runoff area, just avoiding the gravel. But it's here that I think, arguably, Felix Herziger got something of an advantage there, didn't he? Which is race control will look at that and they'll deem this perhaps an unsatisfactory start. And I know you've been working in race control as like a driver advisor as well. They have access to so much data and so many more screens than even we do in broadcast, so they can see everything, can't they?
For sure, they can see everything from the car to all the camera in the track. So honestly, I think everything will be under investigation. And for sure, they say that the braking, if you have a gain of time on the track in the exit of T2, you have to take the small line on the left of the T2 and rejoin the track at T3. So I don't know what will be the decision, but they clearly said to the briefing they have to respect this.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lilu. We'll speak some more to you, let you have a breath for a moment. I know you were down there on the grid offering your advice to a number of the drivers before the race even got underway. You can see the recovery operation is continuing. Race control will look at it. They will determine everything. Just while we have this moment behind the safety car, remind you that every opportunity for you to be part of the Ferrari family and be part of the Ferrari Challenge as well. If you want to ask us a question or interact with us, then you can do that via our social media networks. On Facebook, we are Ferrari Races. On Instagram, Ferrari Races, and on X, you'll find us at Ferrari Races. Don't hesitate to be in touch with us. There you can see Giacomo Altoe right at the back of the Emil Frey garage. Giacomo Altoe, of course, Trofeo Pirelli champion in Ferrari Challenge from last year. Now acts as a driver coach to Emil Frey Racing and advisor, and also racing himself, but another driver that used the Ferrari Challenge as something of a stepping stone up into other racing activities. So 24 cars in the Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli AM race. The race duration is 30 minutes plus 1 lap. Sadly, we are behind the safety car following incidents going on through turns 2 and 3. And yeah, we're going to be behind the safety car, I would think, for at least another couple of laps. And the Circuit de Catalunya here, Lilu, I have been saying, I think I'm not a racing driver. All I am is a mouth on a stick. Truthfully, it's a technical track. It's kind of tricky to overtake here, isn't it?
Yes, it's really a difficult track to overtake. I mean, you have a small straight. You
Yes.
have only this big straight, but the Podium, the last corner is pretty fast. So you can be super close with the dirty air. So most of the time, it's not easy to be close and to be able to overtake at the end of the straight. And most of the corner are medium fast corner. So it's never a big slow corner, or you can go and brake hard. So yeah, I mean, we saw the race before. It's not easy to overtake, and for us in the LMS, for example, we cannot overtake. We stay behind in general.
Thank you, Lulu. We just saw, as we split the screen, that it's a retirement, regrettably, for Marco Sanazzi. So that means that we have lost Marco Sanazzi, Dylan Medler, and Vincenzo Scarpetta from the very start of this Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli AM race. The order is Felix Herziger on track ahead of Yasin Ferrati. Then it's David Gosner and Quinn Wiedlisbach. And then David Gosner is the leader in Pirelli AMs. Felix Herziger is the leader for Pirelli drivers. That is on track at the moment, and we have nothing to indicate that's going to change, or if it will change, we will bring that information to you as quickly as we can. So the cars now are just behind the safety car. Björn Grossman, you can see there, who's running P6 in class. That's P8 in the race overall. Safety car then with the lights still on and the yellow flag still waving away as we go into the Ineco MP Racing, the MP Racing garage. I can see with Massimo Pepe, I think, with the headphones on, who's in charge of MP Racing. Of course, their driver, David Gosner from CDP MP Racing, is leading in Pirelli AM. And it's Felix Herziger for the Ineco Reparto Corsa Ram team that's leading in Pirellis. Björn Grossman was blisteringly quick right at the start of the race, and Martin Havas was blisteringly quick right at the start of the race as well. But that's counted as 0, as already the first 10 minutes of this race has gone behind the safety car currently. So the Circuit de Catalunya here in Barcelona and the Ferrari Challenge. Last time we were here, I think I am right in saying, was 5 years ago, I remember. He was nodding her head to say yes. And then giving me a rude gesture. Charming. Now, here you can see the progress chart on the left-hand side of your screen. Look at Nobuhiro Imada up 5 places. Andrew Morrow up 6 places. Number of... it's easy to make up places when you've got cars going all over the place and skidding around and off the track, I suppose. I'm not taking anything away from those drivers that did do a good job in terms of overtaking right at the start of the race. But we'll see how long we have this safety car. Now, Lilu, if I can come back to you, please. You've been in the situation where you're in your racing car, safety car is out. What do you do? What do you do as a racing driver to keep focused, to keep concentrated?
Honestly, it's never easy because today is hot. So it's this moment, I think it's super hot on the car. You watch what happened on the track. You try to help the team to say maybe in few laps it will be a safety car or in 1 lap.
Yep.
And when they will know it will be safety car in this lap, you warm up a little bit the tires, the brake, and get ready to be back on the race.
I said right at the start of this race, when you could see cars weaving from side to side, it seems almost innocuous, doesn't it, with the track temperatures as high as they are. But you still have to get those tires into the operating window because they're not warm enough yet, are they?
That depends how you feel the car in the when you wave. If you feel it's little bit difficult, the front is not ready, or the rear, you have to do it. And if you have the information of the temperature of the tires and the pressure, you can see if it's ready or not ready to go. And after, it's feeling and the information you have from the car.
So it's very much a feeling thing. You can actually feel it through the steering wheel when they're up to temperature and when you're ready to really go.
Yeah, it's like when you prepare a qualification lap. Before go, you wave to warm up and you know if it will be ready for this lap or if you have to wait a little bit and continue to prepare. But here it's different case because you have to be ready for the restart.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Lilu. Really appreciate your words of wisdom and guidance as we get ready to go back. I think there was just one car to be recovered and then the safety car would be or will be coming in, but that's complete conjecture on my part. We're going to get at least another lap behind the safety car because the cars have just crossed the timing line right now. Now, the safety car can still come in as long as they are advising the teams and drivers in time, and the lights will go out on the safety car and the safety car would come in. But the safety car period is under investigation right now. So that's an interesting one. We're seeing that on our screen here. Safety car period under investigation. Okay. When more news comes of that, I will inform you as we watch the car of Danilo Del Favero, I think it was, the Penske Sportwagen, who's runs that camouflage type livery on his 296 challenge car. We're riding on board, and there you can see safety car period under investigation came up on your screen as well. There's still lots going on out there on track. I was really rather hoping that with just one car to be recovered that we would be able to go racing, and sure enough, I was right. It's not very often that happens. The safety car will come in at the end of this lap. I've just seen that come up on my screen, so and there it is on yours and ours as well. Safety car will come in at the conclusion of this lap and we'll go back to racing again. Felix Herziger from Yassin Ferrati, from David Gosner, then Quinn Wittlisbach and Hendrik Viol. So it's now that if you're going to follow the advice of a top Ferrari factory driver like Lilu Voodoo, you'll be now thinking about getting your tyres into the temperature window that you need to go racing once again. So it's going to be a dash for cash in this race because very nearly half of the race distance or duration has been done behind the safety car. So that means that those drivers that want to do some overtaking have got a much smaller frame of time to be able to do that. Felix Herziger will stack them all up. It's his responsibility to control the pace, and they're almost at crawling pace when he gives it 100% on the loud pedal, when he accelerates, but he has to stay accelerated. You can't go, lift, go, lift. Once you go, you've got to stay gone. And he's holding it out for a long time here. Those behind him will be champing at the bit to get going, but they're trying to anticipate when Felix Herziger, as he goes now. Yassin Ferrati, I think, anticipated that really well because he's stuck with him. They've left David Gosner a little bit. So here we go. Let's go back to racing. Ferrari Challenge, Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am. We're live from the Circuit de Catalunya here in Barcelona as we cross the timing line, and once the cars are past the safety car line, overtaking can happen. Into turn number 1 we go. And we are back to racing with just under 15 minutes plus 1 lap. The speed can by Faye as the cars rattle past at very nearly 270 kilometers per hour. So Felix Herziger continuing to lead. Yassin Ferrati, David Gosner is in lead in terms of the Pirelli Am drivers from Hendrik Viol, who's P2. That's the car center screen right now. The purple and yellow colors of Hendrik Viol, who leads in the Pirelli Am Championship. But he's being chased very, very hard here, but not by a driver that's in the same category as him. So he can breathe a sigh of relief as Felix Herziger tries to stretch his legs over the driver that's P2 at the moment, Yassin Ferrati. Michael Verhagen also trying to make moves as well. He's currently running P4 in the Trofeo Pirelli Am class. He, of course, had a fantastic time of it in Valencia, taking 2 pole positions, 2 fastest laps, 2 race wins. Finds himself, dare I say it, languishing in P4 at the moment. He'll be far from happy about that. Great to see Andrew Morrow up to P5. He had a brilliant start of the race. Hendrik Viol then sets the fastest lap for Trofeo Pirelli Am with a 2:28. Don't read too much into that because times will come tumbling down once the safety car period has been forgotten and completely out, of course. So Felix Herziger with 4/10 as into the Scuderia Prague garage we go right now, and we can see all the data being looked at. I think that's Claudia, who is Hendrik Viol's partner, looking on, seeing what they're doing. And okay, a drive-through penalty for jump start and causing a collision for the leader in the Pirelli Am race, David Gosner. Now, I spotted, and I hope I wasn't the prophet of doom for him, but at the start of the race, he was almost in the gearbox of Yassin Ferrati, Lilou.
Yes, we saw at the start he hit a little bit the rear of the car in front of him, and for sure that was normal. He took a penalty because I think he go maybe 2 or 3 seconds before the others. So at the end he didn't gain any advantage because he hit the other car in front, and we had safety car after. So at this moment it's not easy for him, because if that was not safety car, maybe he was able to do a gap, and no, it's not the case because we are after the safety car. So I think it won't be an easy race for him, because if he have the drive-through to do more, after he have to come back on the fight and try to come back on the top. So it won't be easy.
No, with only 10 minutes to do it as well. Thanks, Lilou, very much there. So drive-through penalty for jump start and causing a collision for David Gosner. That critically takes him out of the lead of the Pirelli Am race, which elevates Hendrik Viol to P1. Nobuhiro Imada, great showing from Nobuhiro Imada, who's P3 in class at the moment, but will be to P2 in class. And then Michael Verhagen, who will be P3. So those all of the consequence of David Gosner picking up that drive-through penalty, as right now I think Yassin Ferrati is not letting Felix Herziger get away with this. So Felix Herziger for Nico Rapato Corsa Ram, he's 4/10 ahead of Yassin Ferrati. Now Yassin Ferrati, young whippersnapper driver into the Ferrari Challenge this year. I first met Yassin Ferrati when he was sim racing, and he's now in real world racing and doing a jolly good job as well for Emil Frey Racing in the Ferrari Challenge. He comes here having taken 2 wins at Valencia. He is going to want to unseat Felix Herziger, because Yassin Ferrati comes into this race leading the Drivers' Championship in Trofeo Pirelli, and he wants to maintain that lead. Well, Felix Herziger sets the fastest lap for our Pirelli drivers. David Gosner with the fastest lap for our AM drivers. There's an additional point, of course, that is awarded to the driver that sets the fastest lap in the race. Nominally, David Gosner is leading, but of course, he has got a drive-through penalty to take. And just for clarification purposes, if I may, Lilou Vanu, once you've been told you've got a drive-through penalty, you have to take that within 3 laps of being advised?
Yeah, exactly. You have 3 laps to do it. After, I think he talked with the radio with the team, and maybe the team said continue to push until the last 3 laps.
Yes.
To do a small gap and to feel more free for after go again on the fight.
Thank you very much. Here's Nobuhiro Imada and Mikael Verhagen having a real battle here. Nobuhiro Imada, who races not only here in Europe, but also races in Japan as well, does a lot of racing, and is a very, very good Ferrari Challenge driver. He is being chased, though, by Michael Verhagen. So Michael Verhagen then, who is currently running P4, Nobuhiro Imada P3. David Gosner comes in to take his drive-through penalty. You can see the P on the left-hand side of your screen. That means he's come into the pit lane to take his drive-through penalty, and that's dropping him way, way down the order. There he is then as he makes his way through the pit lane. That must be the most frustrating walk of shame that you have to do, because you have a speed limit in the pit lane, and that frustrates you because you just want to get back on it again.
Yeah, for sure. When you are on the race, you know you lost a lot of time because you passed maybe 50 seconds at 60 kilometers at the pit limiter full throttle, and you see all the car pass on the left of you. So it's really difficult to accept, and now you have to come back on the fight and try to do the best to score point and do the maximum he can.
Thank you, Lilou. That is, of course, all you can do is just try and extract and maximize the points haul that you can get. But clearly, it must be so difficult and frustrating to see that fantastic start go awry. So it is Felix Herziger from Yasin Ferrati. Then it is Quinn Veitlersbach, who is running P3. Great job being done by Quinn Veitlersbach, but he's under real pressure for this P3 place from Gilles Renmans. The Francorchamps Motors Brussels driver is all over the back of Quinn Veitlersbach like a poorly fitting shirt. He desperately wants this place. He wants to be on the podium. You can see the support and the encouragement inside the garages here. If that was worth a tenth or two, then Renmans would probably be by, but he isn't. Quinn Veitlersbach holding on to this P3 place at the moment. Then you can see the purple and yellow colours of Hendrik Viol, who is leading for our Pirelli Am drivers ahead of Nobuhiro Imada and Mikael Verhagen. So the safety car period is no further action after the investigation, which is good to see. You'll see that in a moment. In fact, there it is. So 7 minutes remaining, plus 1 lap of this Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli race from Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. You can see just how hard the drivers try to find and make just the window of opportunity to make an overtake. But as Lilou Vadu alongside us, for Ferrari factory driver, advised that it's very difficult to try and find and provoke a mistake. Now, Armin Arifpour is picking up a time penalty of 5 seconds for track limits infringement. Now, the deal, as I understand it, Lilou, is you get 3 warnings, and on your 4th warning, then you're going to pick up a time penalty for track limits. And the thing is, surely that's even more difficult to manage, because towards the end of the race, your tyres, you've pushed them so hard. So to try and keep it within the white lines becomes ever more difficult. Yeah,
for sure. When you drive more and more with this condition, it's super hot today. So
yes.
For the tyres, is the most difficult, honestly. In this track like this, Barcelona is one of the worst track for the tires.
Okay.
It's really demanding. You have a lot of medium fast corners, like I said. So that's really demanding. And the tarmac is something special here. Most of the time here, it's better to have a good car for the race than for the qualification.
Yes.
And for sure, if you are on the fight and really close to someone, you have dirty air, and it's really easy to go out and to do track limit. So I think the tires, beyond the fight, beyond the other car, if you want to go to overtake, you have to be super close, and you lost a little bit of air, and you go track limit. And
everybody says to us that it's really hard to run in dirty air behind a car in front of you. What does that really mean? What's it like for you as a driver? How do you feel that?
I mean, I think it's one of the worst things, because
really?
You can be super close of someone and maybe 5 times faster, but you cannot overtake because you are close and you have the dirty air, and when you turn,
yes,
you lost a little bit the aero of the car.
Right.
So you lost a little bit the front, and you lost like 1 meter.
Right.
So you have to be slower than the car in front of you to be sure to stay behind. If you are super close, if you have the dirty air, you lost the front, and you go for sure a little bit more out than normal.
You describe it perfectly. Thank you so much. Right, let's continue with this battle then. Gilles Renmans and Quinn Veitlersbach. Now, Quinn Veitlersbach is another young whippersnapper. Car number 9 is under investigation for overtaking by going off the track. That's Danilo Del Favero, who is currently running P4 in Pirelli Am. Quinn Veitlersbach has been under enormous pressure from the Gilles Renmans Francorchamps Motors Brussels car, but he has sucked up this and defended really well. So Gilles is throwing everything at this to try and find a way by Quinn Veitlersbach, but he's been unable to do so thus far, and he's running out of time here. There's 3 3/4 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. Quinn Veitlersbach, then driver of the number 22 car, who's in a podium place at the moment. He wants to hold on to that. I would have suggested, it looks to me like Gilles Renman is the quicker of the two as he got to the inside now. There's racing room left by Quinn Veitlersbach. I think this is a move for P3 as they try and fight their side-by-side together here. Who is going to come out of this in front? He goes for a switchback now. Hendrik Viol is right behind him. He's leading the Pirelli-Am race. He can ill afford to get involved in this because it's not his battle. He is in a different category. But I guess you're a racing driver. If you see a car in front of you, you want to be by it. So a lot going on here. We ride on board with Hendrik Viol right now. My goodness me. That was nip and tuck for a few corners there, and is still going on. And who's that gone around? I think it's, well, both of them. Lilou, we've lost both of those drivers. There was a little bit of contact between them. We could hear the tyres squealing under protest, and that has ruined the race for both of them.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know if they had contact or not, because this corner, it's really difficult for the tyres.
Okay.
In particular, at the end of the race, it's really easy to spin. So I don't know if they have contact or not, but at the end of the race, it's pretty difficult corners.
Oh.
And for sure, they were super close on the fight, so maybe they had a small contact and he spun. And at the end, no, they lost both, I think, the race, because one is always out, I think, or maybe he go again, I don't know.
Well, Gilles Renmans has come into the pit lane. Quinn Veitlersbach, I reckon, is perhaps beached in the gravel. I don't know. Let's take a look in replay. I think Quinn was already spinning, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he go a little bit out of the lane on the left, and he go on the dirty track, and I think he lost the car at this place.
That's really, really, really unfortunate for those two drivers. But hey, motor racing is beautiful, but it can be pretty brutal as well at times, and that's precisely what's happened there. The incident involving cars 22 and 77 in turn 12 is under investigation, but from the camera angle that we saw, it kind of looked like Quinn Veitlersbach actually lost the back end of the car, and there was no assist there. Of course, race control will look at it, and they will be able to identify from all the data that they have and onboard footage that they have as well. In the meantime, we've got less than a minute plus 1 lap to do. I want to say a huge thank you to Lilou Vadoux for being alongside us here. I know you've got to rush now because you're on podium duties as well. They work you jolly hard, don't they? But thank you on behalf of all of us. We really appreciate you being with us.
Thank you. That was a pleasure.
So thanks very much. The Ferrari factory driver Lilou Vadoux then joining us on the Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli-Am race, where we have but 20 seconds and 1 lap to do before the end of this race. Felix Herziger, Yassin Ferrati, Franco Girolami, of course, elevated to P3 as a consequence of Gilles Renman and Quinn Veitlersbach, and they're coming together. There is Andrew Morrow, who is P5, I think, in Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli-Am. Hendrik Viol leading ahead of Nobuhiro Imada and Danilo Del Favaro, but Danilo Del Favaro's got a time penalty. Therefore, that would elevate Michael Verhagen and Andrew Morrow into the next places. That's the way it will look, I would suggest, come the end of the race. So there you can see Hanno Laskowski right in the middle of this mix as well, with Angelo Fontana right behind. Angelo Fontana driving car number 80. And we're on board with Hanno Laskowski right now. So time penalty now increased to 10 seconds for Armin Arifpour for quite a number of track limits. 8, I think, if we total them all up, which is pretty tricky. Hendrik Viol leading for Pirelli-Am ahead of Nobuhiro Imada and Danilo Del Favaro. It's Felix Herziger, Yassin Ferrati, Franco Girolami, and we're about to start the final lap of this race. Just on cue, the graphics come up and tell us that Felix Herziger has started the final lap of this race ahead of Yassin Ferrati and Franco Girolami. And then for our AM drivers, Hendrik Viol, Nobuhiro Imada, and then it will effectively be Michael Verhagen. Although Danilo Del Favaro on track is P3, he of course has a time penalty. There's Hendrik Viol's partner then looking on inside the Scuderia Prague garage. If you think it's tough being in the car, racing the car and driving the car, it must be tough as being in the garages as well, where The teams and supporters and families, of course, they share in the emotions of delight and despair on occasions when things go wrong. So, Felix Herziger had a torrid time of it relative to his results. He had such an unbroken run of success in the Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli, and he has righted the wrongs of Valencia. He got a brilliant start to the race and has never looked back from then. He's 1.7 seconds to the good. Franco Girolami is dropping down the order, which has elevated Björn Grossman up into P3. I don't know what's happened to Franco Girolami here, but he's dropping down my timing screen and your graphics on the left-hand side of the screen as well. So that was a Trofeo Pirelli podium. So whether it's some reason that he's stopped during the lap, that has elevated Björn Grossman into P3 for Pirelli, but no discounting the winner, Felix Herziger. He takes P1 ahead of Yassin Ferrati P2. Now Hendrik Viol will round the final turn to take the win for our Pirelli AM drivers. Hendrik Viol, who was the bridesmaid in the championship last year, is hoping to be able to seal the Trofeo Pirelli AM Championship this year. He's added another win to his tally. Ahead of P2 for Nobuhiro Imada, which is a brilliant drive. Mikael Verhagen takes P3. Then it is Andrew Morrow. What a dramatic Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli AM race. My goodness me, there was so much going on in that. And when you consider almost half of the race was behind the safety car, my goodness me, when it got to racing, it was utterly, utterly compelling. Well done to Felix Herziger. He'll be pleased with that. He banked a P4 and a P2 in Valencia, but he's back to winning ways here in Barcelona. We're on board with Hendrik Viol here. And now we can see why Franco Girolami, I think he's got a deflated tyre. And that's the reason he dropped down the order. Thank you very much to our TV production colleagues for bringing us that, and we can see it again in replay here. What disappointment that must be for the driver of that Radici Automobili Zanassi racing team. Ivo Horn is team boss, Scuderia Prague. You could just see him to the left of the picture there. It's another victory for that team in their Pirelli AM drivers, as Felix Herziger, of course, wins for Trofeo Pirelli. It's Hendrik Viol that wins for Pirelli AM. What a race. Thanks so much to the Ferrari factory driver, Lilu Vadu, for being on air with us and giving us lots and lots of real proper racing driver insights as well into how to manage things, and that was really, really valuable. Really appreciate that. She'll be on trophy presentation duties right now, getting ready to present the trophies to our top three in each of the categories. Double the value, of course, with Ferrari Challenge, because we bring you a podium for Pirelli and a podium for Pirelli AM as well. That's it. Give it a rev for good measure to celebrate your success. Great to see Björn Grossman back on a podium as well, taking P3. And Max Mugelli very nearly on the podium as well. It's P4 for him. But Felix Herziger is the winner.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. It's his brother there, giving him his congratulations.
Joy, man.
We have had an eclectic mix of music tracks across the weekend here. Now, Hendrik Viol has got a new race suit. I'm convinced of that. I'm going to go and find out why. Right, here's confirmation of the classification then for Pirelli and Pirelli AM. Felix Herziger taking the win ahead of Yassin Ferrati and Björn Grossman for Pirelli drivers. For the AM drivers, Hendrik Viol, Nobuhiro Imada and Michael Verhagen. They were ahead of Andrew Morrow and Max Mugelli. Then it would be Hanno Laskovski, the entertainer, Angelo Fontana, Danilo Del Favaro, he had a time penalty. Then it was Herbert Guys, Rafael Duran, David Akabadze and Otto Blank occupying the positions through to 15, with David Gosner following his drive-through penalty, Armin Arifpour, Quinn Veidelsbach, what a disaster, unfortunately, Martin Havas, then Franco Girolami, Gilles Renman, Marco Zanassi, of course, we lost earlier on, and Dylan Medler and Vincenzo Scarpetta we lost right at the start of the race. I think I'm going for a lie down after that one, and that was only half race, given the safety car period, but nonetheless, terribly, terribly exciting, really, really enjoyable race. And we were only talking about it. What was it like to actually be in the race? My goodness me. We will hear what it was like for Felix Herziger, the Ineco Reparto Corsa Ram driver who wins for Trofeo Pirelli. He is with Ludovica right now.
Felix, congratulations. You are back on the top of the podium during a very hot race in a very technical track. After a chaotic start, you defend your position and you maintain your position until the end.
Yeah, it was a perfect start from us on second place. And in the first corner, we just avoided the collision because we were ahead, but we didn't know what the other guys are doing. So we stayed safe, and after that we were not sure about the pace because from qualifying there was a huge gap. We are still asking questions about this. However, we answered with a perfect car, fastest lap, and it was just incredible. So to bounce back after Valencia, now like this, I think we couldn't ask for more.
Thank you for your time and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
He's very articulate, isn't he? As well as being very, very good. Felix Herziger. We'll also hear from Hendrik Viola, and if Ludovica is listening in to me, maybe she'll ask about whether the new colour combo on the race suit has got anything to do with his success. Just saying. If you don't, Ludo, I will do it, that's for sure, when I go and speak to him after the race. So Hendrik Viola is the winner of Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli. And for Scuderia Prague Racing, let's hear from him right now with Ludovica.
Andrew, congratulations. Another important success for you. The best way to start this Spanish weekend. I want to discover with you how do you build your qualifying session and then your race.
Well, thank you first of all. As you see, I'm a bit sweating. Of course, the milestone was a good qualifying, quick time, and in the race we just wanted to preserve the tires to the end like always, and the team did a great job. We had an unbelievable setup, good fights with other teammates, so I enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you for your time and congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So as we were standing by for the race to get underway, the heat was going to be telling, that was for sure. Heat haze rose off the tarmac as the lights went out and we went racing. Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Amstel. David Gosner almost into the back. In fact, he did make contact with Yassin Ferrati. And that's why David Gosner would pick up a drive-through penalty for that. But Felix Herziger all the way around the outside of Yassin Ferrati, and everyone else behind, well, it was all over the place for many of the drivers, and it was a real disaster for the likes of Dylan Medler and Vincenzo Scarpetta, who would find themselves, as they argued over their places, ending up in the gravel trap. And we rode on board with Hendrik Viola, and there you could see that was the Dylan Medler Vincenzo Scarpetta incident, which brought out the safety car for a very long time. Nobuhiro Imada and Michael Verhagen were having a brilliant battle, and it was a great overtake from Nobuhiro Imada as David Gosner took the drive-through penalty that I was talking about. Now, these two were fighting over P3. It was Quinn Veidelsbach and Gilles Renmans. Now, Quinn Veidelsbach loses the back end of the car, and unfortunately, that would take both the drivers out. I mean, it was hard fighting between the two of them. As you could see, the switchback there and the onto the curbs they would go, and they were all being chased by Hendrik Viola, but that was where Quinn Veidelsbach just lost the back end of the car. Gilles Renman had got absolutely nowhere to go, and it was a real disappointment for Franco Girolami, who was on for a podium, and then a deflating tyre at the back, as you could see, meant that his podium aspirations had gone away. Felix Herziger would win for Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli, and Hendrik Viol would win for Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli Am. As he rounded the final turn, we ran his onboard camera as he saw the checkered flag unfurl. Ferrari Challenge, Pirelli, and Pirelli Am.
Enjoy, man.
So here comes the race statistics for you. Total overtakes in Pirelli 21, in Pirelli Am there were 9. Best progress Max Mugelli for Pirelli and Andrew Morrow for Pirelli Am. So we'll be heading up to the podium very, very soon, and of course, as I say, double the value for you because we bring you 2 podiums, one for the Pirellis and one for the Pirelli Am drivers. Here comes Björn Grossman back on the podium again. It's been a while, Björn. Great to see you back there, friend.
Second driver on the podium, Yassin Ferrari.
Here comes Yassin Ferrari, put it on pole position, but here comes Felix Herziger then. Giorgio Sonagiotto, team boss down there. And Enrico Rapardo, of course, of Ram, of course, will celebrate. They'll be on the podium as well. That really was the shortened version of the national anthem. Here's Lilou Vadou then to make the trophy presentation. First of all to Björn Grossman, who's in receipt of a few trophies. He's got a few on the old mantelpiece, you know. Yassin Ferrari receives P2. Our Ferrari factory driver that I'm delighted to say joined us on the air and really added some value to our program, as Felix Herziger receives his P1 trophy.
Now the Pirelli trophy presented by Lucio Vergani, Pirelli Motorsport Manager.
Pirelli trophy, Lucio Vergani then making that trophy presentation to Felix Herziger.
The driver on the first step of the podium. Please, all drivers on the first step of the podium.
So everyone gets together then for the photographs.
Okay, amazing.
Great photograph there.
Now, Lucio is the manager out of the podium, and we're ready. Okay.
Who's going to win the champagne race? Felix Herziger by some measure. Now, you've been getting in touch with us on social media, Ferrari On Air, our social media, where we love you to interact with us, whether it's at Facebook, Ferrari Races, Instagram, Ferrari Races, or X at Ferrari Races. And we'll do our level best to answer your questions that you pose, one of which is what remedies and or tools do drivers use when temperatures are so high and they want to stay cool? Well, you might see that there's always brollies there from the teams ahead of the drivers getting into the car or being in the car. A lot of them use cool vests as well, to be honest with you, and that sometimes helps regulate the temperatures for our drivers. So trying to answer some of your questions that come through on social media. In the Drivers' Championship, though, which is critical right now, Felix Herziger is leading now by 2 points over Yassin Ferrari. So that has changed on this race. Felix Herziger goes back to the top of the Drivers' Championship ahead of Yassin Ferrari. Another question is, what was the difference between the Ferrari Challenge and the F1 Clienti? Well, the cars fundamentally, of course, are hugely different. And the Ferrari Challenge 296 car is the challenge car as we get our Am podium underway right now. Do keep your questions coming in on our social media interactions. We love to hear from you. Nobuhiro Imada has taken to his step, as indeed has Mikko Verhagen. And then on the top step, here comes Hendrik Viol. I'm convinced it's a new race suit. Scuderia Prague will be represented on the podium as well.
Now, guys, national anthem.
It's, sorry, as I'm looking at the drivers, I'm just noticing that the team principal from Scuderia Prague, Ivo Horn, is up there representing the team, and why shouldn't he? Lilu Vadu, then the Ferrari factory driver, makes the trophy presentation, first of all to Michael Verhagen, then to Nobuhiro Imada. Well done, Nobuhiro, great driving. And Hendrik Viol on the top step of the podium. Now, Ivo Horn gets the Copa Team trophy. Good bloke. Good team, Scuderia Prague. Here's Lucio Vigani from Pirelli to make the Pirelli presentation to Hendrik Viol. Hendrik, you got a few of those Pirelli trophies, and deservedly so. Thank you very much, Lucio Vigani and Pirelli, our long-time partners, of course. Everyone gets together for the photographs here in Barcelona, the Circuit de Catalunya. And I have it that Nobuhiro Imada will be best with the champagne. It's just a gut feeling here. Lilu escapes. It's Imada. No, it's not. It's Hendrik Viol. I've been wrong with everything, haven't I? I'll get my hat and my coat. P3 for Michael Verhagen, then the Ferrari Warsaw driver. Well done. Well done to Nobuhiro Imada. Great job done for Formula Racing. Well done. But the winner then for Scuderia Prague Racing on the top step of the podium for our Pirelli Am drivers, Hendrik Viol. And there he is, that beautiful car color combo. We'll take a look at the Pirelli Am Drivers' Championship as well. Here it is for you in graphics. Hendrik Viol with a 19-point margin over Michael Verhagen and Marco Zanassi, who had a torrid time of it today. Then it's Andrew Morrow. Hanno Laskovski's moved up a place. Herbert Geiser's dropped a place. But the rest of the order for the Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli Am drivers in terms of Drivers' Championship, you can see there. Number of drivers missing from this weekend. And that means lots of movement in the Drivers' Championship, of course. Wow, Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am race was something very special indeed. It was, for the entire 30 minutes plus one lap, really rather exciting. And half of that was behind a safety car. My goodness me. We have another race to come. Our Copa Shell Am drivers will be taking to the track very, very soon. But from the Circuit to Catalunya in Barcelona, from our Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am drivers and our broadcast, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye for now. Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon to you, and welcome to Spain. And welcome to Barcelona, round 6 of the Ferrari Challenge Europe 2025 calendar. And what an awesome calendar it is and is being, because we're far from done yet. Although this is the next round, we do have another couple before the end of the season. I actually don't know where the season has gone. It's gone so quickly this year, seemingly. Let's give you our official welcome to Barcelona. Here it is. The fabled Circuit de Catalunya. 4.6 kilometers, 14 turns, 6 left, 8 right. And the circuit was built in 1991. And as you can see, the final countdown to the championship really is round 6 we're in this weekend. Then it's round 7 at Spa-Francorchamps before round 8 at Mugello, which also forms part of the Finale Mondiale. Spectacular, and by spectacular I mean it with a capital spec. Finale Mondiale is something very, very special. The track temperature here is 52 degrees. The air temperature is 30 degrees, and there's just a little bit of wind around to try and take some of the temperature away. And it's our Shell-Am drivers that will be racing over the next 30 minutes plus 1 lap, and it's the Penske Sportwagen Hamburg driver, Sven Schirmer, who's put it on pole position. He goes from P1 on the grid. Going from P2 will be the Kessel driver, Jan Sandman. And there in the sunglasses there you could see Andrea Gagliardini, who's one of the driver coaches to Sven Schirmer. Jan Salmon's driver coach is Charlie Hollings, and big thumbs up from Jan. I spent time with him at lunch today, which was particularly pleasant. A 1:44.469 was his lap time. Somebody's just clunked into our camera there. How rude. So there is Fons Skeltermar to the right-hand side of your picture. Fons is a Shell driver, not Shell-Am, but it's something about the camaraderie of Ferrari Challenge that once the drivers have finished their race, they want to get on the grid and offer best wishes to their colleagues that are racing perhaps in Shell-Am.
Absolutely.
Nico, hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. As we take a look at Boris Gideon, I thought it interesting that you pointed out who of the 2 people in shot were Fons Skeltermar, not the significantly younger lady on the other side. Boris Gideon put it on to P4 in the first 4 drivers on the grid. 3 of them are German, 1 of them is Austrian. But then followed up with Norik Kazu, Shibata, Charles Chen, the likes of Henrik Kamstrup and Lisa Clark, bringing the competitors from all over the world here onto the grid.
And the thing is, the competitors from all over the world. There's Andrea Maladosic, who's head of Ferrari Challenge. The camera avoids him, which has probably been told to the cameraman to avoid him. Nobuhiro Amada, who was just on the podium a few moments ago, he's just walked by. Yes, Andrea Maladosic, head of Ferrari Challenge, which you mentioned the worldwide competitors, because we race all over the world with the Ferrari Challenge. Here in Europe, also North America, Australasia, Japan, and the UK as well. In fact, just next weekend, if you can join us, we'll see you at Donington Park. There's Lisa Clark, who is North American-based racing driver, but races a lot of time in Europe as well, and great driver. And Lisa Clark, a Ferrari Challenge champion in her own right. So, what happened in Valencia? Let's recap. Sven Schirmer, Andreas Koenig, front row of the grid. Jan Salmon on the second row of the grid with Henrik Kamstrup. Andreas Koenig then settling for P2. Jan Salmon being hung out to dry a bit right at the start of the race. Then Andreas Koenig getting the better of Sven Schirmer. And Sven Schirmer would chase. Paolo Scudieri. And also here, Shintaro Akatsu getting by Boris Gideon. And Germano Toniello was in the mix as well, but it would be Andreas Koenig victorious as we continued with race 2, and Sven Schirmer going from the start-finish straight into turn number 1 in the lead. Jan Salmon P2. Henrik Kamstrup slotting into P3 at that point with Andreas Koenig chasing, and Shintaro Akatsu pointing in the wrong direction as a number of drivers made their way through the gravel, and Alvaro Ramos was given something of an assist there in being turned around. Boris Gideon continuing to chase as best he could. Alexei Komarov and Boris Gideon there. And here's Alvaro Ramos, but it would be Sven Schirmer that would win race 2 in Valencia. So cars are out there on the grid then. The 133 cars driven by Charles Chan. And the Formula Racing driver is one to be reckoned with, a 1:45.015 for Charles Chan. That was his qualifying time as the crash helmet goes on here. As you can see, the fireproof balaclava, and then the hands device, the head and neck support system that is used by our drivers. Irritating fly in our studio. I tried to scare it away with my voice, didn't work. Norikatsu Shibata. It was a really good qualifying from Norikatsu. P5, brilliant job done. Norikatsu, a 1:44.909. Qualifying was earlier on today, and it was no more or less easy qualifying in the temperatures, it has to be said. And Henrik Kamstrup, who looks so good in Valencia, he said he didn't have a brilliant time of it in qualifying and has qualified perhaps out of position. He's starting on the 4th row, Nico, P8 for Henrik Kamstrup. Based on what he achieved in Valencia, you'd have perhaps expected to see him a little bit higher up the order.
Yeah, and he was pushing towards the very end and spun around, and that not only meant the end of his quali session, but also Andreas Koenig, who's on P3, was on a pole trajectory lap. It would have been close, but he had to bail because yellow flags meant he had to lift, and therefore the order is what the order is, but that means we have some drivers who may be extra motivated to do some overtaking.
Yes, indeed so, as if motivation were needed in the Ferrari Challenge. Oftentimes it jolly well isn't, because the racing is so darned good. Circuit de Catalunya here in Barcelona, where it has to be said, overtaking is not so easy. It's a really technical track. We'll see how the drivers do. We've got 19 of our Shell Am drivers out there on track, and there's the lighting gantry, and great image there on top of the lighting gantry of everything in the Corsa Clienti programs, of which the Ferrari Challenge is, of course, a part. And just to go back to what I was saying about the glittering Finale Mondiale, where absolutely everything from a racing point of view is very much on display. Let's take a look at what happened in the North American series of the Ferrari Challenge in Indianapolis in Trofeo Pirelli. Well, race 1, it would be Massimo Perina starting from pole position over championship rival Dylan Medler. Roberto Perina relinquished his spot to Dylan. Massimo Perina ended up winning the race ahead of Roberto Perina. What a weekend it was for the Perinas then, with Johnny Kaminsky, who would be classified 3rd. In Trofeo Pirelli Am, a multi-car battle for the win on the final lap would ensue. Brad Falva, long-serving Ferrari Challenge driver, coming out on top as everything seemed to happen at the same time in the closing stages. Well done to Brad Falva. And in what could be a championship deciding moment in Copa-Shell Race 1, Jan Bernier scoring his 3rd consecutive victory of the season in class. Lots of skirmishes, but there was Jan Bernier. Didn't put a foot wrong. Trofeo Pirelli Race 2, Massimo Perina repeating his dominant race win, earning him the 4th victory of the year. Then in Trofeo Pirelli Am, it would be Martin Burrows, and in Copa-Shell 2, Jan Bernier once again. That's the way it looked in North America, and great racing there in Indianapolis. And this is the Circuit de Catalunya here in Barcelona, 4.6 kilometers, 14 turns, 6 left, 8 right. It was opened as recently as 1991. I say as recently, Nico, it feels like it's been around longer. Or is it just because I am much older?
No, I mean, obviously Barcelona is used for testing in Formula One, so it's a regular occurrence, not only in the racing calendar, but also in the winter, and therefore gets lots of visibility. The drivers are familiar with it. Great city just next door, so
it is.
We get to enjoy the racing. You said it, overtaking is very difficult.
Yeah.
So sometimes pushing the other drivers into making a mistake
is the only way. I have to say, the Barcelona city, I think, is very, very lovely indeed. And if you can combine it with racing at the Circuit de Catalunya, how lucky are you? May I make mention of the fact that how good photography can be as well, because a hotel which features a infinity pool on the roof actually is no more than a foot spa, which just shows you how you can make photography really work, isn't it? It's like probably somebody could make me look handsome. Just with the right camera and lens, maybe? Who knows? Right, cars are off. We'll bring you the grid in full from back to front. Here it is, as if by magic. Louis Perusquia goes from P19 on the grid. That's row 10. Then Alberto Tirán and Alexei Komarov. They are P18 and P17. Alvaro Ramos from Portugal and Stephen Earle from Texas. They are P16 and P15. It's an eclectic mix of great drivers, including Pino Frascaro and Hassan Debussy. Welcome back, Hassan. Guy Favre and Paolo Scudieri, P12 and P11, with Shintaro Akatsu and Lisa Clark going from P10 and P9. Henrik Kamstrup and Fritz Muller are P8 and P7. Good qualifying from Fritz. Charles Chan and Nobugatsu Shibata, they are P6 and P5. It's Boris Gideon and Andreas Koenig, both danger men from the second row of the pack. And it's Jan Salmon going from P2, but Sven Schirmer, who did as few laps as possible in qualifying, he put it on pole position. So he should have rubber available to him. Let's hear what he had to say after qualifying.
I mean, what can I say? The weather conditions are almost as hot as in Valencia. It's demanding. We tried to prepare well. Yesterday the gap was bigger for me in the free practice. I finally managed to do it also here in the qualifying. I'm happy. I hope I'm going to have a good race. The weather is really demanding, as I already said. The heat plays a big factor. Let's see what's up for the race.
Best of luck to you, Sven Schirmer, and a best of luck to the other 18 drivers in Ferrari Challenge, Copachel Am from our side here in broadcast. And it is a delight to be able to bring these races to you. Now, you can be involved, and we'd very much urge you to interact with us on social media. These avenues are open and available to you. On Facebook, Ferrari Races, Instagram, Ferrari Races, and on X, @Ferrari Races. Don't hesitate to be in touch, ask questions. We would love to hear from you. So, the cars lining up side by side in grid formation. It's always a rolling start in the Ferrari Challenge, and they all have to run through their grid boxes for it to be deemed a satisfactory start, Nico.
Absolutely. We've seen that happen and not happen at the same time. And it's something that we will all keep an eye on. Hopefully we all get through the first sequence of turns all right, and then we can put our heads down and enjoy 30 minutes plus a lap of racing.
As Dancing Danny D said, we'll put our hands together. And here comes the lighting gantry to the top of the screen for you. Andreas Koenig is looking lively already. Boris Gideon going to try and get something of a slingshot here, do you think? Sven Schirmer controlling the pace of this rolling start. Then we await the lights to go out. And let's go racing. Great start from Sven Schirmer. Bad start from Boris Gideon. I think Andreas Koenig is potentially up to P2. He's side by side with Jan Salmon as they head into turn number 1 right now. Bear in mind, cold tyres. Sven Schirmer's going to try and escape up the road, and that's, I think, Stephen Earle, who was on the grass. How did he manage to avoid nearly everybody else? Unfortunately, Alexei Komarov, I believe, just getting caught by that. I'm sure it was in avoidance of something. So as the cars go on then, Sven Schirmer is P1. Jan Salmon has been able to get that P2 position back from Andreas Koenig. I think Andreas Koenig had gone through initially, but Jan Salmon is up to P2 right now, ahead of Andreas Koenig. Then it's Charles Chan and Boris Gideon, Nobugatsu Shibata. Henrik Kamstrup trying to make moves also. Oh, the sound of these wonderful 296 Challenge cars as they go past our camera position. Let's ride on board with the Formula Racing driver, Henrik Kamstrup then. Climbing uphill right now. Sven Schirmer 6/10 to the good when he crossed the last sector line over Jan Sandman. And bear in mind that something we said right at the start of this race is that he will have a good tyre longevity, one would think, in the race. Now we've got a yellow flag at turn 3. Is that for the Stephen Earle car? Yes, that is Stephen Earle. And that was the car that we saw. And that came from a long way back on the start-finish straight, Nico. I don't know if you saw what kind of started that, but I guess he was just avoiding making contact with the car in front of him, put himself onto the grass, and once you're on the grass, you're a passenger.
Yeah, indeed, and you called it absolutely correctly. That could have been so much worse, but just came back on the track without clattering too much into everybody else. There was some contact for sure, but not as bad as it looked at some point.
Oh, Lisa Clark. Puncture.
Yeah, I think that was still part of this melee at the beginning of this sequence. I'm sure we will get a replay in full of the start sequence, everything happening and as if by magic.
Okay, 1 or 2 cars perhaps out of position. Oh, that wasn't Stephen Earle, that was Pino Frescaro. And that was the wrong side of the track as well, Nico. Alexei Komarov. Oh, as Lisa Clark made contact with Stephen Earle.
Yeah, and you can already see that Lisa Clark's car is ill handling, so that contact damaged the tire or the wheel, something, and that is the initiation of the problem that led to Lisa Clark having to retire the car as well. So, yeah, unfortunate, but we're still going. Only yellow flag, no safety car required, thanks to the fact that Stephen Earle got his car to safety, and Lisa Clark has also been able to get the car to a position of relative safety, so we can continue racing. And you were right, Jan Sandman, he had almost lost P2, but he was on the outside, and Andreas Koenig, I don't think, trusted his braking power just enough in the cold tires to really brake on the very edge and rather err on the side of caution.
Discretion, the better part of valor at that point, I think, as Alexei Komarov sadly is in the pit lane. The Scuderia Prague team are looking at the car. The incident involving cars number 130 and 100 in turn 1 is under investigation. That's Stephen Earle and Lisa Clark. So that will be looked at. We still have a yellow flag at turn 3 at the moment, so drivers have to be very much aware of that. Speed camera then by Faye as Sven Schirmer goes through it very nearly 128 kilometers per hour past the speed cam. Penske Sportwagen Hamburg driver leading the race ahead of Jan Salmon, Andreas Koenig. Then it's Charles Chan and Boris Gideon, Norikatsu Shibata, Paolo Scudieri, Fritz Muller, Henrik Kamstrup, and Guy Favre rounding out the top 10 at the moment. It's now a double yellow at turn 3, where it was single yellow for a moment. It's now double waved yellow at turn 3. So we'll keep our eyes on that and see if that develops into anything more major. So Sven Schirmer, who, as I mentioned, and forgive me, but I do think it's really, really important because he did so few laps in qualifying. I think he has got the tyre longevity, which is going to help him in this race. He's certainly going to have more tyre available to him than Jan Salmon and Andreas Koenig, who did significantly more laps in qualifying than Sven did.
Absolutely, and he's got the advantage. He's got an empty track in front of him, and for now at least, he's under no pressure, so he can pick his line, he can keep it steady and consistent as long as he's got that gap, and that will just allow him to be very, very saving on the tires. The 137 car.
That's Alberto Duran, regrettably, but the car is off the jacks and they're getting him back down the pit lane again. So Alberto Duran is going to be able to rejoin the race now. His hopes of and aspirations of good results probably not there, but he is going to be able to at least feed some data back to the team, isn't he? And he's going to get some seat time as well, as Paolo Scudieri flashing his lights furiously at Norikatsu Shibata ahead of him. That's the battle that's going on for P6 and P7 at the moment. This Ferrari Challenger Copa Shell Am race being led by Sven Schirmer ahead of Jan Salmon and Andreas Koenig. They are P1, 2 and 3 currently, with Charles Chan running in P4.
Yeah, and this is where the double yellow flags are. So turn 3 is the indication that we have. Didn't see something from the corner of my eye.
No,
but
me neither.
Certainly the indication is still there, and that means obviously no overtaking through that part of the track.
Yes, that becomes a part of the track which, for all purposes of advancing yourself in the race, it becomes unable to do so, or you become unable to do so. So this little fight that's going on here between Paolo Scudieri And the car of Norikatsu Shibata is livening up quite a lot. We've got 23.5 minutes plus 1 lap of this Ferrari Challenge Copa Am race. Now, the incident involving cars 130 and 100 in turn 1 is going to be investigated after the race. So we're not going to be able to bring you any news on that during the course of the race because it's going to be investigated afterwards. Unfortunately, it means that both Lisa Clark and Stephen Earle are out. As who's gone around there, Nico? That's Norikatsu Shibata, isn't it?
Yeah, that was, I think it was. That was certainly Paolo Scudieri who gave a little bit of a tag. He made a dive very late into the corner and cut away from it, so wasn't quite able to see how late the dive was. And
let's see in replay here if that's the same incident. Yeah. So they were having a good fight between them, Nico, weren't they?
Yeah, well, again, like we say so many times, it's good that we are talking about the race and others have to make decisions on what was legal and what wasn't. That was maybe just on the edge of being one way or the other. Anyway, Paolo Scudieri is continuing and he's pushing as much as he can. For the moment, that puts him into P6, a very, very good position. Shintaro Akatsu has rejoined in P10. Hopefully going strong without any significant damage to the car, but obviously lost quite a few positions in seconds.
Sherma, Salmon, Koenig, Chan, then the top 4 at the moment. This is Paolo Scudieri, who's now got Fritz Muller for company. So Paolo Scudieri running in P6 at the moment. Do bear in mind that will be looked at, the fact that he and Norikatsu Shibata came together. And the double yellow has been removed at turns 10 and 11. Now, this is Charles Chan and Boris Gideon, P4. Now, Boris Gideon is definitely faster than Charles Chan, but it's all very well being faster than the car ahead of you. You've got to find a way by as well. So, the incident involving cars 101 and 110 in T10 is under investigation. Now, that's what we just saw with Norikatsu Shibata and Paolo Scudieri. So, that is under investigation, and race control will take a look at that. And I rather think, Nico, you might be right there, that they will look at that and decide some action needs taking. Boris Gideon right on the inside here of Charles Chan. Charles Chan is able to carry a bit more momentum through the turn, which means that Boris Gideon is denied. So, with 21 minutes remaining in this Ferrari Challenge Copa Shell Am race, we're live from the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona, with Sven Schirmer leading from Jan Sandman. Andreas Koenig is P3, then it's Charles Chan and Boris Gideon. They are the top 5 as we go through the Faye speed camera at 127 kilometers per hour. And we go back to this battle for P4 that's going on between Charles Chan and Boris Gideon. The outer house Ulrich driver is chasing down the Formula Racing driver. Gideon is quicker, but Gideon is denied because he's not been able to provoke a mistake quite yet out of the car that is ahead of him. And you kind of need a mistake from that driver ahead of you to open up a window of opportunity to make that spot yours. And at the moment, that is being denied.
Yeah, but this is the closest battle we have in the front group. Andreas Koenig is slowly reeling in Jan Sandman just a little bit. Gaps down to 1.2 seconds, while the gap between P1 and P2 is 2.2 seconds. Now we get an indication and a resolution to the incident earlier.
You'll see this on your screen in just a moment. Paolo Scudieri in car number 101 is going to get a time penalty of plus 10 seconds for causing a collision. In the meantime, Boris Gideon has found a way past Charles Chan, and you can see now that Boris Gideon is escaping up the road. So 10-second time penalty for car number 101 for causing a collision. You'll see that on your screen, but there's also Norikatsu Shibata is going to get the same time penalty for rejoining the track in an unsafe manner. You may recall, as he'd gone around, he put his foot to the floor and floored it to get back out on track. And race control deemed that was a rejoin in an unsafe manner. So he picks up a penalty as well, Nico. It's double bubble, really, isn't it? But really, really unfortunate for Norikatsu Shibata. Okay, well, for the moment, those are all the parish announcements, as you can see, that are indicated on your screen, as well as on our message screen as well. as Schirmer sets the fastest lap, which means that he gains an additional point. You get an additional point for the fastest lap in the race. Got 18.5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining in this Ferrari Challenge Oberschell Am race.
Indeed, and whatever launch Andreas Koenig was trying to put on Jan Sandman, that has gone a little bit away. Jan Sandman has stretched his legs to his gap to 2 seconds over Andreas Koenig, now actually 2.2 seconds. And actually clawing back a little bit of the lead to Sven Schirmer. I think it's now visible that he's reeling him in just a little bit now. Sven Schirmer already very experienced and lots of advice from his 2 driver coaches.
Yes.
So we've seen it time and time again how he's managing the gap, but he's reduced the deficit by 7/10 this lap already. So certainly he will need to be aware of that. And he will be made aware of it.
That's significant, 7/10. Yeah, so maybe Jan Sandman is thinking the second half of this race, but that, in my opinion, is when the tyres available to Sven Schirmer will really, really come good and pay dividends for him. But let's see how it develops.
Yeah, last lap around, the one that they just completed, 6.5 tenths for Jan Sandman to the good, so the gap now 1.9 seconds. We'll monitor how that develops. Certainly would be great to see a battle for P1. And these drivers, Jan Sandman, Andreas Koenig, Sven Schirmer, have given us some great racing already throughout the season. There is Guy Favre running in P8. Haven't overtaken Henrik Kamstrup right to the beginning of the race. Bear in mind, Paolo Scudieri, who's running ahead of them, has picked up a 10-second time penalty, so that might change come the end of the race. There is Henrik Kamstrup, looked very quick at the start and obviously during qualifying, but hasn't been able to replicate that pace. Norikatsu Shibata right behind him, and trailing him is Hassan Debussy.
So, being advised that Andrea Gagliardini and Max Mancardi are just telling Sven Schirmer, and here you can see as we split the screen, those are the driver coaches. With the headphones on, it's Andrea Gagliardini. Alongside him is Max Mancardi, just saying to Sven to be super smooth. Keep it cool, tidy, be super smooth, Sven Schirmer. As Alvaro Ramos here, we can see with Hassan Debussy. 15, just under 16 minutes plus 1 lap of this race remaining then in the Ferrari Challenge. Pino Frascaro now right on the back of Alvaro Ramos. There's Henrik Kamstrup. Henrik Kamstrup is ahead of Norikatsu Shibata, who of course has got that time penalty hanging over him. And then it is Hassan Debussy, Alvaro Ramos, Pino Frascaro, Louis Peruscu and Alberto Duran.
Yeah, talking about time penalties, track limits is always, there is a late dive to the inside, but nothing doing there. Talking about time penalties, track limits is always something that needs to be reckoned with, and we only have 2 drivers with time penalties, period, or with track limits, period, but Charles Chen just picked up number 4. You're allowed 3 freebies, effectively, but number 4 carries a 5-second penalty, and now all of a sudden...
Well, this is, I think that's the returning Alberto Duran car, isn't it? Which is now being caught by other cars out there, and he's trying to keep out of the way of everybody. But like we said on 150 occasions before, you know, you can't make your car disappear, can you? You can try and do the right thing by keeping out of the way to the best of your ability.
Indeed. What has disappeared is the yellow flag, as now Henrik Kamstrup has slowed down quite significantly, at least.
Norikatsu has gone by, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And here comes Hassan Debussy, I think. So, what's going on with Henrik Kamstrup? Let's look back from the Henrik Kamstrup car. Alvaro Ramos on the inside of Hassan Debussy. Almost. Hassan Debussy hung out to dry in the gravel there. I don't know whether Henrik just maybe missed a gear or something, Nico, because he seems to be back up to pace again now.
We'll see. I mean, he was really quick at the start and then all of a sudden lost some pace initially.
Yeah.
Now, this certainly looked like there was something more fundamentally wrong. He's now under significant pressure, at least when it comes to top speed, and there it looks almost defenseless. Anyway, the yellow flag, which was there for quite an extensive period of time, has been
This
has
is
been lifted.
Pino Frascaro and Hassan Tabusi side by side. Now, Pino Frascaro was trying to take advantage of the fact that Henrik Kamstrup was so slow and he could see an opportunity here, but now he's in the gravel. Thankfully, he just saves it. And I think that's the Alberto Duran car right behind him. So, Henrik Kamstrup, real disaster for him, Nico. I mean, the car is still out there. He's not coming to the pit lane.
And now there is drama building.
Oh, my goodness me. You can't see this on our screen yet. We can see it on our message screen. Go on, you bring the announcement.
In race control, there is now a discussion, and this is on screen now for you. Disrespecting double yellow flags in turns 3 and 4 is for our number 1 and number 2 drivers on track. Sven Schirmer and Jan Salmon under investigation for not respecting, and now comes the penalty. As we speak about it, 10-second penalty has been awarded for our first 2 drivers, which would put Andreas Koenig into P1. Everybody else with a bigger gap, so they would still be on a podium, but it's Andreas Koenig who all of a sudden gets vaulted into a virtual P1.
So by disrespecting the double yellow flag, it's not, you know, it's not doing an unfair, it's not doing an unpleasant signal. It's basically you need to not overtake and lift and just behave in that manner with a double yellow. And quite clearly, you know, race control have got data available to them. They've got other screens available to them. And quite clearly, they didn't do what they should do. We've got another time penalty coming for the driver that is running in P5 at the moment, which is Charles Chan. That's going to be for a time penalty for track limits. That's a bit easier to explain, but wow, the drama in this race, Nico. So the drivers that are P1 and P2 will become P2 and P3 because by dint of the margin that they've got ahead of everybody else.
Exactly. I mean, Boris Gideon will have been told by his team, well, you're actually...
Step up a bit, Frank.
Yeah, you're 11 seconds behind Jan Sandman, and you're 13.5 seconds behind Sven Schirmer. So if you can find 2 seconds, you would be on the podium. If you can find 5 seconds, or 4.5, or 3.5 actually, you would actually be P2. So there is a motivation. Andreas Koenig is 4.2 seconds behind Sven Schirmer, so he's clearly in the lead now after those penalties have been applied. And yeah, the Charles Chan penalty we already indicated a little bit earlier, and that's now official. You can see the red bars on the timing screen on the left-hand side. Each red bar means 5 seconds.
Wow. So, all of a sudden, Andreas Koenig being gifted the opportunity to win this race. Dare I say, we've still got 10.5 minutes as Henrik Kamstrup, it looks like he does retire the 113 car, which is a great shame. Quite clearly, whatever is the problem there is terminal, Nico, and he brings the car into the pit lane. It looks like he'll be taking no further part in the race.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it. I mean, at some point, you just have to also think, if there is a problem, do I make it worse by continuing? Because I have another race tomorrow, and I don't want to incur anything that isn't there.
Yeah.
As we go on our drone shot, that is really, really good to see and to follow. That is Guy Favre and Shintaro Akatsu. Shintaro Akatsu doing the chasing, Guy Favre doing the defending. Great shot here through this latter part of the track, and now Shintaro Akatsu comes really, really close on the entry to that final turn, but I think Guy Favre has just enough momentum to be safe for the moment.
I think you're right. There is no question about it. Shintaro Akatsu, I think, is a tad quicker. But as we've said so many times, to the point where you're probably bored of us saying it, you know, it's all very well being quicker than the car in front of you. You've got to find a way by, or certainly provoke a mistake so that you can find a way by, muscle your way by almost. So just under 10 minutes plus 1 lap remaining in this Ferrari Challenge Copa Shell Am race, live from the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona, where we're watching the battle that's going on for P8 at the moment. Guy Favre in 3rd gear at 120 kilometers per hour, up to gear 4 right now, with Shintaro Akatsu following in his footsteps, but not able to find a way by, despite the fact he is marginally quicker, and we are talking about margins here. Tyre Deg might now, as Henrik Kamstrup, Nico, is coming back out.
Oh, good.
So I wonder if it was just Control-Alt-Delete or something like that, you know.
possibly, but definitely good to see that the problem with the car is not terminal, and Henrik Amsterdam can take part in this track. Certainly will be a confidence builder for him, because he's shown his pace both in Valencia as well as in the early stages of qualifying today. As we get a replay again, Paolo Scudieri involved in that.
Fritz Müller, who I have to say, dive bomb on the inside, I think, a little bit, Nico. It's easy for me and you to say it, isn't it? We see it from one camera angle.
Yeah, well, remember, Paolo Scudieri already has that penalty, so even though he's running in P7.
Stefano Guy, his driver coach to Paolo Scudieri. As Paolo Scudieri then comes down the start-finish straight then we can see Guy Favre and Shintaro Akatsu continuing their fight that's going on for P8 in this race. Nothing has changed. Shintaro Akatsu has to stay behind Guy Favre. 7.5 minutes plus a lap. Ferrari Challenge. We're live from the Circuit de Catalunya, where we can see a number of penalties. You can see them in the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen. 10 seconds apiece for Sven Schirmer and Jan Sandman, 5 seconds for Charles Chan, 10 seconds for Paolo Scudieri, and 10 seconds also for Norikatsu Shibata. That's the way it looks at the moment. And here is the driver that's actually P3, Emil Frey Racing's Andreas Koenig. But given the two drivers ahead of him, they've got a 10-second time penalty. The Emil Frey Racing driver, Andreas Koenig, is the virtual race leader, Nico.
Yeah, indeed, and he's got no track limit infractions to his name. Actually, still only 3 drivers, even though Norikazu Shibata is up to 3, so he's on the edge of maybe being subject to further sanctions. No, Andreas Koenig really, really consistent, and now that he's really not under pressure as much.
He can really focus, can't he, in terms of making sure he keeps it between the white lines. But he's not far away from them either, though, is he?
No, and Jan Sandman has reduced the gap to Sven Schirmer, and even though it's not for a win, potentially, he would dearly love to get past Sven Schirmer and claw some points back, because there is still a championship race, and Sven Schirmer is clearly in control of that race.
Yes. Oh. Very, very fair point.
And we just get a reprieve, and that's very rare. The Charles Chan track limit infraction number 4 has been rescinded, and therefore that 5-second penalty has been taken away. Now, he's back to 3, so he isn't safe by any stretch of the imagination, but those 5 seconds have been taken off the board.
Stefano Guy bringing his driver in. We're given to understand it might be a brake issue, and it could, Nico, be that Paolo's been so hard on the brakes he's overheated them, maybe. I don't know. But Scudieri is in. Will he go back out again? Could also be as a consequence of the damage sustained, as he's been involved in 1 or 2 skirmishes. 5-second time penalty for car 133 deleted, which is exactly what Nico was telling us just a few moments ago.
Yeah, however, that parcel is being passed to the car number 110, Norikazu Shibata, who has now picked up number 4. We will get a graphic on screen, but, you know, Claudio Garavini taketh and he giveth.
Yes. And the one thing you can say is that it may be firm, but it's perfectly fair. And if the penalty has been awarded, there is an argument that it's been deserved. So Guy Favre, Shintaro Akatsu continuing their little fight, as we've got a double yellow now at turn 3, Nico. So the double yellow is very briefly enacted, and now it is removed. And yeah, we'll see what that's all about.
And it's back on again, and we haven't seen any indication of what that is for, but we see that Sven Schirmer is dropping down the order on our timing screen. And there is Hassan Debussy, who was, I believe, on a very different part of the track, so don't think those incidents are related. Now, with 4 minutes remaining, everything is happening at the same time. There is that part of the track where the double yellow flag should have been. It's now been removed.
Well, so now...
And Sven Schirmer is back on I think we have some issues with the timing screen, if I'm being honest. But let's see.
No, that's Norikatsu Shibata, I think. Right. So Jan Satman, whoa! That's Andreas Koenig, Nico.
Our provisional race leader, actually, and we've got a safety car. Oh, how did that happen? It looks like
there's fluid, got to be down there because you've got cars going around, Nico.
Yeah, I mean, it was a slightly different spot, but that was my initial reaction as well. Safety car, anyway, has been called. Jan Salmon, Sven Schirmer, that's the sequence. There was a 9-second gap between them, which counts for naught. And obviously a 10-second gap behind the safety car multiplies. That drops you 10 positions or whatever down the order. But, I mean, Andreas Koenig, we've said it so many times this season, he has always been so quick, but he has had misfortune and moments, head scratchers.
Well, I mean, the shape of this race has changed because you now have the virtual leader out of the race, effectively, because the car is beached in the gravel. And that was Andreas Koenig, who's got his entire family here this weekend, I think, as well. So that's really hard cheese, Andreas. You kind of, because there seemed no reason for him to lose the car. Do you know what I mean? It was, and now, as you say, once you go behind the safety car, everything that a time penalty is supposed to do, I mean, it doesn't get multiplied, but the effects and the impact of it does get multiplied if you go behind a safety car, because all of a sudden any gaps you'd engineered over the course of the race are nullified, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. There on the right-hand side, exactly there, you can see the Andreas Koenig car. We've got a minute 45
So I was wrong, wasn't I? It was not, I thought it was Norikatsu Shibata, but I wonder if we were seeing that image just before. And there was Sven Schirmer going around. That's where Henrik Kamstrup lost it as well.
Yeah, so I would tend to agree that there must have been something on the track, fluid. I mean, we've got no indication, no flags. There is that slippery surface flag exists, but it's not being shown. And think of Charles Chan, who is now provisionally running in P2 after his penalty had been rescinded. Talk about a reversal of fortunes from P4, 5 maybe. He's now running in a provisional P2, and wow, I mean, that is a change of fortunes and a change really to the face of this race.
Well, there's no way we're going to go back to racing. It's going to finish behind the safety car, Nico, I'm afraid to say, with just 45 seconds plus 1 lap remaining and cars in the gravel. And yeah, I'm sorry that this race is not going to get resumed as a proper race, as it were.
No, because we won't cross the timing line within the next 32 seconds, we would believe, and that means the plus 1 lap is behind the safety car. Yeah, tend to agree with that, unfortunately, but...
So, okay, critically, Nico, that is going to put Jan Salmon, Sven Schirmer where? 9s, 10s?
This is kind of where it becomes a little bit tricky.
Because you've also got others. You've got Norikatsu Shibata, who's P8 at the moment. He's got time penalties. He's going to drop down the order. So it's going to be P7, P8, something like that, isn't it?
Well, that's where, once the safety car comes in at the end of the lap, because it allows the drivers to take the checkered flag, there is an incentive for Jan Salmon to put his foot down and get every 1,000th of a second, and it might be the difference between, what do you say, P7, P5, P4?
Yeah, okay.
And Sven Schirmer is effectively the same. So it's, you know, there might be a race towards the final few meters on this track. Well,
but actually, that wouldn't. Let's wait.
Let's wait. I hope it ends safely.
The race will finish under the safety car, no overtaking. Now this then. So Alvaro Ramos, Pino Frascaro makes contact, I think, with Hassan.
And that was into turn 1. So could that have been the instigator of any fluid being put onto the track? There are so many questions we will have after this race. I don't think we will have an answer during our program, but maybe for tomorrow we will have it. No overtaking, but still the safety car usually comes in to the pit lane.
But you cannot, you
can't
can't overtake,
but you can stretch
build
your
a
leg.
gap.
Yeah.
My goodness me, he's going to have to really go some, isn't he, Nico? I mean,
well,
you know, talk about pull a rabbit out of the hat.
Well,
so what Sven Sherman needs to do is bury the car in the back of Jan Sandman, actually, doesn't he?
Well, and Jan Sandman and Sven Sherman both will have the incentive of going quickly.
Yeah.
For Boris Gideon, it's kind of academic. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those small wrinkles that you rarely see in motorsport. But it might be, and I think you can see Jan Sandman is allowing the safety car to get up the road.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yes, he wants to get a bit of a slingshot here, doesn't he?
Yeah. Although you can't do that too much. You can't, you can't be too liberal with it.
No. No, it's a thin line, isn't it?
Whoever said that safety cars are not entertaining?
Well, fair point. Fair point you make. Well, our drone then picks the cars up. Then they got the final sequence of turns to do before we head towards the checkered flag. We are on in the final lap with the safety car peeling off into the pit lane to allow the drivers to take the checkered flag. And Jan Sandman and Sven Sherman. Now, Paolo Scudieri's a back marking car in the mix there. So Sven Sherman needs to get as close as possible, doesn't he? Yep. The connotations of this are remarkable. Well, there you can see that safety car is peeling off now. Jan Sandman is doing his level best to get as far up the road as he possibly can before the checkered flag comes out. And I'll tell you what, I think he's done a reasonable job here. As the checkered flag is out. So, as far as the timing screen is telling us right now, it means that Jan Sandman finishes P8 and Sven Sherman finishes P10. So the winner is going to be Boris Gideon. P2 is going to be Charles Chan, and Fritz Muller on the podium, I think for the first time this season, takes P3.
Yeah, I think so. If you're interested in a straight-up race that starts and ends with no complications, this was not for you. If you're into the machinations of how motorsport can work sometimes, this is gourmet stuff. Boris Gideon, our race winner. Now, proper credit to our race winner. He had a great start to the season. Had a little bit of a lull, I think it's fair to say, and through the smoke and in parts of the debris, he emerges victorious in Barcelona race 1. Charles Chan penalized, depenalized, P2 Fritz Müller, P3. Good luck editing the highlights of that race. That was quite one that needs explanation. We'll get the full results later on. Shintaro Akatsu, Gifaway, Shintaro Akatsu, Alvaro Ramos, Pino Foscaro finishes in P7. Jan Sandman, through all the permutations, P8, Luis Peruskia, Sven Sherman, Norikatsu Shibata.
I wonder how this is going to change I mean, I don't think it's going to change the shape of the championship too much, because thinking about the championship contenders, which are the drivers like Andreas Koenig, Sven Schirmer, Jan Sandman, Boris Gideon. Boris Gideon's going to be the big beneficiary here, isn't he?
Yeah, he is for sure, because he's the only one really realistically in the championship fight, so he will gain good points. But as we said, he had a real down period after winning both races in Monza. Hasn't been on the podium since, so he needs an extremely strong finish and a repeat of this race pretty much from here on out.
Yeah, you're right. Wow, I'm amazed. I'm absolutely amazed. What a race that was.
I think this is one of the races that you will show someone who wants to be a race director. How do you regulate this race? It's like a test.
Yeah. And of course, things can be looked at after the race as well. I'm not saying they will, but they could be. So, we can only report on what we see and what we have in front of us.
there is Boris Gideon. No question about the fact that he wins the race.
Dare I say, Boris Gideon is kind of also a little bit perplexed of how he ends up.
Yeah, well, got quiet. I think I would agree with that.
I want to see that. We'll look forward to that winner interview with Ludovica.
He'll be just basically how did that happen?
Hopefully.
You know, you can't help but feel sorry for some of the drivers, including this man, Sven Schirmer, who, dare I say it, Nico, having been smiling a lot, is back to his...
Yeah, and then, I mean, also for Schirmer, he spun, then, you know, just when that happened, Andreas Koenig spun out of the race.
I know. You couldn't make it up.
There is that mind-blown emoji. I think that's fairly the theme of the race.
Yes, it was Heatwave that sang mind-blowing decisions. None of the decisions were mind-blowing, but some of the consequences may be. Right, Boris Gideon then for Outer House Ulrich is our race winner, and he is with Ludovica right now. Explain that one to us, please, Boris Gideon.
Boris, congratulations. You are back on the top of the podium here in Barcelona after a race, a very chaotic race with a lot of safety car. But with you, I want to discover your feeling and how do you build this race?
No, I'm very, very happy. I started before and then somehow I missed the start, so I don't even know where I was. I put some pace. I think I take over Charles. It was quite a good race. And then at the end, they had some time penalty, so I was a little bit lucky to be on P1, but very happy, and I like Barcelona. Looking forward to tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I bet you do like Barcelona now. Here come the highlights of Ferrari Challenge Copa Shell Am from the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. So as the cars were released, there you can see one car out on the grass right at the start of the race, and then there would be another after a touch from Lisa Clark that had sent Stephen Earle, who then had to thread his way through the oncoming cars like a needle. Unfortunately, Alexei Komarov being caught out in that, and damage sustained by Lisa Clark as well. And well, there was quite a lot going on, to be fair, and Charles Chan and Boris Gideon were having something of a really important race, and Henrik Kamstrup and Hassan Debussy, Norikatsu Shibata, lots of drivers in the mix here, and Henrik Kamstrup seeming to lose a bit of pace, and Alvaro Ramos on the inside in the 150 car. And then here you can see that Paolo Scudieri and Fritz Müller having a get together as the Pino Frescaro car appeared to make contact with Hassan Debussy at the back end of the car, and Henrik Kamstrup going around and losing the back end of the car. But that wasn't the only drama, because Sven Schirmer had gone around as well, and although he was the race leader, he'd got a penalty. And Andreas Koenig, seemingly for no reason at all, the back end of the car let go, and he ended up in the gravel, and he would have been the net victor of the race if everything had stayed that way. However, the safety car would be out, and at the end of the race meant it would be a victory for Boris Gideon ahead of Charles Chan and Fritz Müller, who took P3. Wow. Dramatic race. Here comes the podium. Michele Mambelli will bring the drivers out onto the podium then for a very interesting Shell Am race. Now, to the best of my knowledge, this is Fritz Müller's first podium in Ferrari Challenge as he takes P3. Well done to the Gome Motorsport Engstler driver. Charles Chan, Formula Racing. Well, for Charles Chan, it's his third podium, I believe. Well done, Charles. And Boris Gideon, who had a really brilliant start to the season with 2 wins in Monza, is back on the top step of the podium. And his team, of course, Autohaus Ulrich, will celebrate, and we will hear the national anthem to play out for Boris Gideon. Lilu Vadhu, the Ferrari factory driver, will make trophy presentations. Here she is, fine driver. And presentation made first of all of the P3 trophy to Fritz Müller. Here comes the P2 trophy for Charles Chan, his third podium of the season. And for Boris Gideon, actually this is his third win of the season. And if he's been on the podium, it's been for nothing other than P1. So 3 wins for Boris Gideon. And of course, Copa Team Trophy, Autohaus Ulrich are in receipt of that. All drivers together on the top step of the podium for the photographs of a Ferrari Challenge Copa Shell Am race, which will be discussed and remembered for a jolly long time, I would suggest. Who will win the champagne race? Fritz Müller. Yeah, I've been wrong with everything. It was Boris Gideon. Get your hat and coat, Dave. It's all over. So P3 for the Gome Motorsport Engstler driver Fritz Müller. For Formula Racing, it was Charles Chan. But for Autohaus Ulrich, the 103 car of Boris Gideon delivered victory for the driver, his third win of the season. In the Drivers' Championship, Sven Schirmer still leading ahead of Jan Sandman by 30 points. Andreas Koenig further 10 behind, but Boris Gideon still P4. Charles Chan, the big mover, he moves up 3 places to P6 in the Drivers' Championship. Still a lot of racing to come, of course, and look at that, Fritz Müller moving up 12 places in the Drivers' Championship. Well, still a lot of racing to be done, and, well, those drivers, the likes of Jan Sandman and Sven Schirmer, Andreas Koenig, will be hoping to right the wrongs of today when they race again and qualify again tomorrow. So it was a thumbs up from all of the drivers ahead of the start of the race, and one of the most dramatic Ferrari Challenge Copa Shell Am races anywhere in the world took place here at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. If you were asked to write a predictive script for that race, you'd have never in a million years been able to do it, because what actually happened on track is almost unbelievable. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.